Welcome, everybody, to our new episode of 6 on 6 with an ever-revolving door of friendly and somewhat less friendly faces, as you can see from Fett's camera. Last week, we had Troy jumping in to replace Fett, or I guess re-replace himself, because Fett was moving. And as you can see, Fett has basically just mirrored his camera. I actually don't know if Fett has actually moved apartments at all. What? Did you actually move?
I guess we'll never know.
He's not trying to get doxxed.
No, I moved.
We had Troy joining in your place. It was a good show. It was very comfy. And we obviously had Mint making his debut. And Mint liked it so much that he decided to come back this week. Actually, we didn't even invite him on. He just showed up. So.
Oh, I can leave?
Yeah, you don't even. Yeah, you can. No.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
No. We got a couple good topics for you this week. The big one is going to be, as Fett so eloquently will put it on the show, console players, controller players taking over the T2 scene. And we have been soliciting feedback from you, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Discord, Twitter, or even the subreddit, because there was a good post on the subreddit a couple days ago about things you'd like to see on 6 on 6, particularly in our super shows. And it was great. I don't know if either of you saw it. I read through the thread. There were some good contributions in there. We will be doing a super show, by the way, before the Munich Major. It will likely be not the next show, but the show after that. And it'll be recorded a little bit ahead of time so that it comes out ideally a day or two before the major actually kicks off. You know, it might be tough for us to do some shows during the major, but we'll have some good stuff both before and afterwards. Today's topics are going to be talking about the T2 scene, whether it be individual players, whether it be Element 6, whether it be the newly announced Spoit Invitational that we talked about on a previous show. Then we're going to be jumping into discussing EML, because we know that some people were a little bit unhappy with last week and how little time we actually spent about EML. In our defense, it had literally just finished that day. None of us were particularly well equipped to deal with it. So, I mean, here we are. We are much better read now. And then we'll be discussing the final two teams that qualified for the Munich Major, because this is the first show where every one of the 16 teams is locked in. We'll be spending more time next week and then the super show discussing those 16 teams. And if time permits, we have a couple other topics. It really just depends on how far we run over. I will start this off by saying my knowledge of the T2 scene is not that great, but good news for us. These two guys happen to know quite a bit. First and foremost, welcome Fett, welcome Mint. And where do you want to start? Where do you want to start when it comes to talking about T2?
Let's start with the resident T2 program, the Element series. Element 6, it's on, it's back, and honest to God, it is some of the most exciting Siege I've seen in a while because I feel like Stompin came over and was like, yeah, I'm gonna, which is like, Stompin's a 1 in a million guy, right? And then everyone else is like, oh my God, I can do that too. And I think that's what's happening. So obviously the next prospect people think of as Kaysen, but that guy's not 18 yet. He can't play that, right? So he's
June.
So it's, yeah. Oh, June. Yeah. So
sorry, coaches. So we know.
Surprisingly, the main guy everyone's been looking at, who's been tearing it up in T2, is Skyte. That's right, Skyte on Twitch. He's not on controller, sadly, but he's on mouse and keyboard. He's with J Guns and Lou. If you're a Jinxieverse fan, you know exactly who those players are. They're kind of like the Ed and Eddie of that universe, and they're all on the same team, and they stream their games like they stream their games live. It's not just the main broadcast view. It's that. He's streaming his POV. He's streaming it. Okay. And then the other guy is RaidBullys. There's a lot of other players, like veteran players like Geometrics, aka World Champion with TSM, and then Skies is also back, and a bunch of veteran T2 rosters back in the fray. But I mean, I just wanted to start off talking about Skype, man. I mean, man, have you been watching the clips? What do you make of?
Yeah, no, definitely.
What do you make of it?
I mean, for one thing, I'm actually kind of glad that there are people streaming their POVs, because I've been kind of pushing for it. I think it makes, like, if you're in T2 and you're not getting paid, I think it makes it a lot more interesting if you're streaming your team's POVs, listen to the comms. Like, that's what the people want to see, that, right? Main broadcast is great. Like, that's obviously going to get its views, but people want to be seeing like how a team works, what the comms are like, how they're working together. And I will say that at least for the Skyte team, is nothing like any team that I've been a part of. I don't know about you. For example, I mean, you've worked with Gav, so you've had some craziness as well. But yeah, the Skyte team, I mean, they're definitely getting after each other. They're definitely getting on each other. I myself don't know if I'd be able to play in the pressure cooker atmosphere that they've kind of been in, but they've actually been having some really good performances, almost losing or sorry, almost winning rather against Alix, who is the X-Core team, aka probably what people thought was going to be the strongest T2 team that there is, because they ended up, I think they won. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they won the last.
Won.
Okay, so they've
won
won in the
everything.
past, and they didn't make any roster changes. They just have a new org, and they almost beat them 6-8. Right, so we got to overtime, which was impressive. And then they go on to win their next 2 games against not too bad T2 teams, and they now have a chance to actually qualify for the very next phase. And this is a team that, again, if you watch them, if you listen to them, they don't really have strats. They've said that they don't practice ever. They just stream. I think they've went on to say that like Boots or somebody just plays Rust all the time. Like they never play the game except when they come on and play these qualifiers. So literally they're not practicing. They don't even have an org. They're just on the game. They've been playing together for a long time. So like obviously there's some chemistry there. Just playing together and they have like some plays that you can tell that they've done in the past in ranked when they play together. But yeah, definitely, again, a pressure cooker environment for not practicing. Like, they are definitely taking it seriously, but they're also roasting each other. It's been complete comedy for people like me to watch. But again, it's all entertainment at the end of the day, and I feel like they're doing it the right way. Like, they got a lot of eyes on them right now, trying to see if they're going to make it to the next phase.
Yeah, I mean, for those who weren't aware or haven't been keeping up, I would heavily recommend going to JJ Blast's Twitter and checking out some clips. Sky tried to drop a teammate mid-game first game. All right, that's first of all already what happened. Between every single round, they are literally just screaming at each other, win or lose. By the way, like they won a round, and Sky was saying like, "Stop saying my name! Stop saying you! Shut up while I'm trying to win." And he's changing his sense like every other. It is comedy. It is comedy entertainment. But to their props, I will say they have some good ideas. I think that's why they're winning. I think Skyte, Lou, aka Letters, and Boots in particular actually have some pretty good grasp on how to play the game, which is actually impressive considering, like, at least when I was in T2, I don't think people at that level did not have that grasp of the game. Actually, like, no one did, besides maybe the number 1 team. So yeah, the first game they played against Alix, which is the team that basically Franklin, who's Stompin's old IGL on M80X, ever since that team blew up and Stompin went pro, he joined a team with Spiff and some other like T2 veterans, and they have not lost a single tournament they have entered as a team ever since then. So that 6-8 scoreline is impressive. It's very, very impressive. And I remember them saying, like, yo, if we got some screens and we dog on these guys, which I actually disagree. I think there's a magic to pug stacking that you lose when you scrim. So I think they should keep that magic. They should keep pug stacking. I think if they scrim, we'll see some worse results next week. But also, I do want to address another thing. Like, I think there's a conception out there that, like, oh, Fett, yeah, they yell at each other because that's just how console is, and we just yell at each other, and we're friends so we can take it. I've heard this argument way too much. It's not just a console thing. It's also like a T4, T3 thing. Like all these same issues I see within that team, I see in like the lower level teams that I used to coach, because I was much more recently in T4, T3 than Mint, so I think speak on this. At the end of the day, as a coach, it's like it's a very allergic thing to see, right? Because it's like, okay, you're never gonna win like in pro league with that mindset, or like in like a major stage with that mindset, but for entertainment purposes, fuck it, dude.
Yeah,
fuck it, dude. You know.
I'm gonna jump in for a second here, just because I learn a lot about this. I just simply don't have the time to watch T2, and if a team ever makes it or if players ever make it, I'll go do my research from like a casting perspective. But I'm at a point where there's a lot for me to keep in my brain with this game, and I like to try to keep it locked into T1 as much as possible. That said, I used to watch the T2 scene back in Challenger League a long, long time ago. Now, Mint, as I'm sure you're aware of this, in the old like ESL Challenger League system, there were really only ever like 4 good teams at any given time. Like, fuck, I remember you get guys like Suzaku and stuff who just put together a pub stack at the last possible minute and end up qualifying for Challenger League. Now, from what I've seen of Element, whether it be, any of the 6 that have run, because it's not called Element 6, the series is called Element. For those that are not aware, it's called Element, and then every number is just each subsequent like season of it. So it's in its 6th season, which is why it's called Element 6. It's largely ran by Ferme, for those that don't know. He's the main producer on the NA League broadcast. He used to do a lot of the lower tier stuff before getting elevated and then to like the top. And then for a long period of time, wasn't ever given like the keys to the castle, but he had like a spare room because he would do like the B stream on live events. He would run like the skeleton crew where it would be like him and a couple guys and they would run the entire B stream operation of live events. Tireless worker, great output of work. You know, I've known him for a long time. Canadian, so obviously I have to like him. Whether I even hated his guts, I still have no choice. We're bound by blood. But the thing is that when CCS kind of came in, it didn't replace Challenger League, but they ran together and they were these really important pillars of the community. And then they both just kind of like Challenger League kind of kept falling away as teams stopped really caring about it. Then CCS just disappeared. Element has come in and has now taken that torch and ran with it. And I mean, the prize pool is $15,000. It's got like a giant talent roster. There's lots of great casters that are working it. There's good analysts, like there's good hosts, like the observers are some of the observers we have for the NA League. There's money and interest behind it. And I mean, there's former world champions playing. Skies is playing, like Geo is playing. Like these guys won chips, Geo on TSM, Skies on Elevate. It's great to see like the older guys play. For you, Mint, because you have this historical point of reference. And I mean, obviously, Fett, you can weigh in too, but I don't know how much of the old ESL Challenger League you used to watch. Is Element 6 a cut above the old Challenger League? Do you think it's more competitive? And do you think it's teaching players more and preparing them more for the top leagues? Or do you think Challenger League is still like that high watermark that we had, 5 years ago?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
This is why they pay you the big bucks.
You damn right.
So I'm gonna be honest. I mean, you said how old I am basically, so I appreciate that. With the go dating way back, Suzaku was great. Like I not thought about Suzaku in a long time.
On this show, by the way, he was a guest on this show.
Really?
We have a Suzaku episode. If anybody wants to go back and give it a rewatch, go ahead. He was a great interview. A lot of people thought he was just a shit poster on Twitter, but he gave us a couple great hours of insight. So
entertaining guy, no, for sure. I'm going to be honest. I mean, is it better than Challenger League was back then? Yeah, probably, because, back then, even in Pro League, I mean, there was plumbers in Pro League, and eventually talent improves, and we're at a point now where talent is pretty high, I would say. Like, I myself could not step back into the ring. I couldn't even get into T2 probably right now. That's how washed I am. So, like,
I think you could. I've seen some of the Element games. I think you'd be fine.
Okay, thank you. But I think like the top 8 is it's kind of like Pro League in the sense of like where the top 8 is a big cutoff from like the bottom 8. Okay. Which we'll talk about soon when we talk about the other T2 tournament of the teams that got invited, right? There's a clear top 8, there's a clear divide. And then even there's kind of a clear top 4. And then even there, the jump from CL to PL, which was your question, is it kind of like, are they improving and learning in T2? Like sometimes, yes. I mean, it helps to have some of these players down there like Geo and Skies that can teach them the fundamentals and the basics, right? Like these are world championship players, you just said, right? You're going to be able to play on one of their teams. Also down there on that Skies team is like Kool-Aid and Gasher. Gasher was on TSM, with them, and Kool-Aid was on, I think it was Parabellum. So like there's a ton of other T1 players. You got Packer down there as well. So there's, again, a ton of players that are kind of teaching structure, which is a step in the right direction, but that's always been my hate on T2 and even T3 is like, I don't feel like there's enough almost like college football where like teams are kind of like NFL ready kind of teams where they're training the players to be actually good in T1. I feel like it's more so like, let's just win T2 and do what will win T2. But like not teaching them like the correct fundamentals that are like actually help them when they get to T1. So I think we're still kind of in that situation, just a little bit. But I mean, right, there is a lot of talent down there. I don't want to say there's not. My hot take is I actually believe that there is a lot of talent down there that could get onto T1 teams, but like T1 teams are, one, hesitant to pick up some players, and two, it's kind of gatekept in a sense. You got to be like, people got to really know you, and there's like no point in taking risks on a lot of these players when there's like proven commodities in T1.
And speaking of, that was a conversation we used to have about Challenger League back in the day too.
It does.
Right? Like look at guys like Achieved and Biologic who teamed together forever, and most sane people saw that they played stage after stage after stage in Challenger League, and they're like, why is nobody taking a chance on these guys? When you saw the same, like, I don't want to say washed pros just getting kind of like passed around like hors d'oeuvres at like a cocktail reception. It's like these, like, what, bring some new people in. And it actually took until Biologic and Achieved's team qualified for them to show up. And then Achieved had some of the best stats in his rookie season, and people were like, oh, maybe we should have picked him up. And it's like, what were you guys thinking?
Yeah. No, I mean, Achieved, he would play him all the time. He was a career Challenger League player. Now he's a world champion on TSM. I mean, that's a crazy story. That guy
Was also
never
on the show,
gave
by
up.
the way.
What a go. I love Matt.
Was also on the show.
Went to a Red Hot Chili's Pepper concert with him. Great guy. But yeah, I mean, I really do think there's T2 talent that could be picked up on a T1. It's just there's a lot of T1 people that think like T2 is bad, T2 is garbage, T2 is trash. Like there's no one good in T2, and like obviously they're protecting their own jobs and like they don't want to. Yeah, but the bottom of T1 is just as bad. Like I mean, we've seen some historically kind of stinker performances in T1 at the moment with Standby and Cruelty. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, I enjoy watching it right now. I think Element, like Fett said, to his point, I think it's the most entertaining for me that it's ever been, especially with all these old head kind of players in it.
Yeah, I mean, to branch off that point, like I agree with him. I think right now players are the best they've ever been, just because the game is the youngest it's ever. Sorry, the oldest it's ever been. So current players will know more than the past players. But I do think, like, if you want to phrase the question differently, is this the most competitive T2 league we could possibly have right now? I think the answer to that is no, right? Like, because I think the stakes are different. When Pro League relegation is on the line, a lot more people are in it to fucking win it, right? And also, additionally, like just the sheer size, I think downgrades the amount of quality matches we get. Like I think like when you say like, oh, I clicked on a random element game and it just looked terrible, well, that's just there's like 4 times more chance of that happening than the olden times, because like a 10-team league versus a 16-team league. Like in a 10-team league, you would expect 4 teams to be bad, right? In T2. So imagine a 16-team league. It's still the same thing. There's still 6 teams that are good. Now there's 10 teams that are bad. That's the way I see it. Yeah, I just
how bad is bad? How bad is bad though?
Bad as in like you're trying to play structured, but you have no idea.
Min's face said it all.
Yeah.
Bad as in you're trying to play structured siege, but you really have no idea how the game works. You never learn the basics. So then you just look like this broken record that's just like you try to do a take. It's the most obvious take ever. You don't set up 2 points of pressure, and then you just get swung by a rank star. And like people are like, oh my god, a puck stack's beating a practice stack? Well, yes, but also like this other team just has no idea what they're doing, but they keep running the same statue take over and over and over again. It's like it's just not working. But yeah, I think it comes in waves. I think like Min said, and some other ex-professional players have stated on the Twitter that like right now there's no obvious prospects. I think obvious prospects come in cycles. Much to Min's point, I think prodigies and pickups come in 2 forms. I think either an entire team gets farmed or singular players from teams get farmed. That's like the 2 types. You see, like Newers was a singular player versus my old RTV roster with Mr. B and my old Aerial Arise Academy roster with Ash and Ambi, Asian, Spiff, Uzi, right? Those are like full teams that you farm. And to Min's point, it's like you either get top culture and everyone knows it, or only one player really has a standout performance. And I think right now we're kind of in that phase where I think there's just no obvious prospects. Yeah, that's really it. I think Kaysen's really the only next one. But
were you talking about Skyte?
Skyte
He was.
I think look, I think Skyte actually has passion. I really enjoy Skyte's passion. I think, and I've seen him like low-key be the most mature one on his team at like moments in time. If he really, I'm in the mindset of anyone truly wants it enough, they can make it. And people always think that's a lame thing because they don't understand what truly wanting it means. You know what I mean? Like truly wanting it is like you're practicing double scrims every day and you still love the game and you still want to go above and beyond and play the game more than that. And you are going there, you're making strats, you're not roasting your teammates, you're changing your personality to win. Right? Like if you ever got annoyed at anyone ever, if you ever got defensive, if you ever tried to explain your reasoning in a scrim ever, you're forcefully changing that out of yourself. And people don't understand what wanting it means, you know? So yeah.
Do you think that guys, because it was talked about a little bit earlier, do you think more guys like Skies and Geo going down to help these teams is beneficial? Because Mint, you can't remember if you mentioned it officially on the show last week or if it was something that we talked about. You do coaching for T2.
Yep.
You know, whether you think you can or can't hang as a player doesn't really matter. I mean, you are a major winning coach. Both of you are major winning coaches here.
Nice, Fett. Nice.
Yeah.
Fist
Like,
bumps. Fist bumps.
You guys obviously have wisdom to provide. Nobody is doubting for a second the experience and the knowledge that guys like Geo and Skies can bring to a team. Hell, even like Packer and Gasher and stuff like that, like those guys competing too. Even if they didn't have a wealth of experience at the top, the fact that you were able to play in a tier 1 environment on land consistently with a top team is going to so greatly benefit these younger players. But I suppose the question that I need to ask is, how do you as a veteran get involved in the T2 scene and get the most out of these younger players? Because when you've got 16 teams in your T2 or T3 league or whatever it ends up being, obviously Element 6 is a T2 league. You guys correctly pointed out, not all 16 of these teams are playing to go into Pro League. A lot of them are just friends that are playing together for fun, which is totally okay. We don't really have like a ladder system in Siege where you are constantly able to challenge teams and play. So if you want to get like game day reps and actual experience in like a competitive environment, this is basically all you can do outside of like maybe Siege Cup, which I don't even think Siege Cup is that competitive, but a conversation for another day. So it's like, how do you as a veteran player, if either of you were to go down into Element 6, and I say down because obviously you're both formerly T1, so obviously T2 would just be a small step down. How do you ensure you're getting the most out of these players? And what are you looking for in players to ensure that not only do you succeed as a T2 team, but that you're setting these other players up for success should they get, you know, called up to the big leagues of tier 1?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I actually kind of have a little bit of experience when I was doing Turtle Tactics, which was like my stream team, kind of like Skyte. An example, like I was trying to bridge the gap and like show people how a T1 team practices, how we practice on DZ, how we practice on Unwanted. We did it on stream. I handpicked players from like T3, T2. We built a team and we actually qualified for Element 5. So we were in Element. Unfortunately, it was around the time where I was very busy with co-streaming and I found that I love co-streaming and watching pro games. So I was very busy. Yeah, go Pro League. For me, it's like, I think Fett touched on it, but like they just don't know how to play the game at a T3, T2 level because there's no, we say about players, like think about how rare good players are. Like coaches are even 10 times. Like looking like T1 Pro League, I think we have 3 actual NA coaches. The rest are imports. We did the math on, So if we only have 3 in Pro League, where are all our coaches in NA? Because they're not in T2 or they're not in T3 because I don't know what they're doing. I've worked with a couple of them. Some of them are kind of close here or there, but there's like so much, like people just quite haven't grasped how to play the game. And it is kind of like, I mean, how do you learn, right? How do you learn without having T1 experience? So thankfully there's players now going down. They're teaching some of the fundamentals that they've learned on their team. Alex from DZ, most recently. I mean, yes, he won a chip with Elevate, but like with the DZ, Gio was on Sonics and TSM. So like they're able to
Skies, by the way, not to interrupt, but in case people don't know who Alex is Skies.
Right. Of course. Sorry, I know him. I know him. Like
it's okay. That's he's your friend. You're allowed to call him by his real name, Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, for me, it's like, when going down to that level, just kind of teaching him how to play the right game, teaching him different. I think we talked about this one time, Fett, but like not teaching him to win T2, but like I was teaching theory, like push-pull theory. Right, I'm teaching ghost pressure. I'm teaching how to use your drones effectively. All stuff on my YouTube, by the way.
Yeah.
Also, wow. But anyway, like how to use your drone effectively, how to win the round in the prep phase, how to change your operators to counter what the defense is doing. How on defense, the conversations you should be having. How's the attack playing? Can we counter them? There's like so much that like you kind of blow their minds when you go down to that level, but you have to work slowly. You can't throw all these concepts at them because I probably just confused Parker here. But you have to like one step at a time, build for long term. And also I try not to focus too much on the weaknesses. I just want someone that's moldable, willing to learn, and has good gun skill, because at the end of the day in T1, anyone can shoot. It's really like the other stuff that comes into it, the mental, like how they get along. Are they, again, moldable? things like that. So it's like if they're willing to learn, I will teach them, and we go slowly, we go step by step. We go, 1 week we're learning one concept, then we're learning another concept. And I mean, at least for me, for the Turtles, it's worked semi, because now in Element 6, a couple of my players have been picked up. I mean, we have Team Kiri, Spiders on there, which is one of the top teams. We have CLB, Zonky, who was a player on the Turtles, is now working with, they took Hat's on Cloud9, so he's on CLB. TrevMac is actually coaching Kaysen, and he's teaching the future of NA. Hopefully we don't mess this one up. The future of NA being coached by TrevMac, and he's got a lot of concepts from the Turtles. So I just feel like we need that more. I just feel like a lot of that information is kind of like almost gatekept. It's only going to get learned from these players that, hopefully after T1, they go down there to T2. But yeah, to answer your question, that's what I would do. Slow, steady, teach the concepts. Fett, anything else on that?
I fully agree. We had this conversation, but for the pros going down, to address the first thing that Parker said, I think even on a T1 level, I was building Beast Coast, and Gunnar was telling me we still need that old dude voice, and that's why we got mad. So even at a T1 level, we needed that spiritual, I'm the experienced guy, I'm a lead y'all. So
hot and cold, by the way.
Yeah, it's infinitely valuable to have a guy like that keep everyone in check and push them forward, just like old veteran leader dude. But yeah, no, the best analogy I could give it, because I was very successful in T3, T2, T1 when I was ascending. I'm very unsuccessful when I go back down, and I realized that teaching them is like teaching them the concepts that I formulated in Pro League is like teaching calculus to an elementary schooler. That motherfucker still has to learn algebra. Okay? So, like, for example, like, I'm trying to fucking I'm trying to help out my friend's collegiate team with, like, oh, let's do this crazy theory and you phantom pressure, blah, 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 blah. And then they're losing. And then I switch my mindset. I'm like, okay, reset. Okay, open the wall. Okay, Thatcher the wall, then open the wall, and 3, 2, 1 it. Okay, now reset again. Okay, no, don't push. You drone. And then they started winning like 6 rounds in a row off that. You get what I mean? The things that help them
VP
the most
style
are the basics. And that's why I don't do private coaching, or I don't listen to the viewers like, I have a video idea for you. Coach my silver stack to Pro League. Like, you will get the same quality of coaching from me for what you need to succeed that you will from Athena. Like, just straight up, right? Like, so it's the same. It's just, how do you open a wall? How do you sit still sometimes? Who needs to drone instead of just no comm walking in? Saying where the enemy is, saying what you're doing. It's like, it seems so basic, but people don't fucking do it, man. People don't do it. People need to do it. So yeah, it's a bare bone. Teach them algebra, and then teach them geometry, and then teach them pre-cal, and then calculus.
They're growing up.
Exactly.
I think this is a great time to remind people that just because you know how to do something doesn't mean you know how to teach other people how to do it. Like, just to kind of argue my own point here that I'd made about like Skies and Geo going down and like what you two could also provide. Like, not everybody is going to learn off of somebody the same way that, they want to. Like, some people teach in a way that just the subject or the, whoever they're trying to teach is not going to grasp it. People who either talk like in hypotheticals and talk in theory, or then, people who talk by actually, or who show by actually doing it, right? Like, some people are visual learners, some people are, auditory learners, or some people are physical learners. That's really it. And, I think it's also fair to say that there are lots of people who think that they are good and don't think they have much to learn either. There's still T1 players that over the years that I've done this job, it's like I'll talk to teams and they will drop somebody and I'll be like, well, why did you drop them? And they're like, because they just won't learn. Like, they don't care. Like, they're not, like, they'll say that they're trying, they'll talk the talk, but actions are ultimately what matters. And you can keep saying like,
행동이지. Sorry, that's Vigil's voice line. Actions speak louder than words. Go ahead. Sorry. Still sorry.
But it's true, right? Like, yeah. And I feel like if you are really innately good at something, which we've all seen, not just in esports, regular sports, but in a regular day life, people who just like, they pick things up immediately and they're quite proficient without actually having to work for it. there is a great deal of hubris that often comes with those people that think that they can do it without anybody else helping them. And there's like a mindset where it's like, well, no, I'm really good. Why do I need to learn what you have to say? Like, I can do it on my own. And it's like, you're never going to really get through to those people until they're willing to admit that they actually do need help, because it is exceptionally rare anywhere that you're going to get to the very top and stay there without putting in the hard work. You need to be disciplined, and you need to actually do the things needed to make sure that you didn't just luck into this, or you just weren't good from the get-go. And that as people start to catch up to you and they start to be disciplined and they start to learn and grow, that you can also do the same. You know, casting's a great example of that. I know lots of guys that, you know, have an excellent voice, who've got great hype, who are just like right out the gate are really proficient casters. But then over time, they don't adapt, they don't change things up, they don't grow into the role, they don't understand like the mechanics and the foundations of it. And then they just end up falling off, because you were good to start with, but you've got to actually put in the work to ensure that you are consistently good. And I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know if you guys have the same viewpoint here, but it's like, I tend to find this happens in NA more than other regions, where it's like the T2 scene in like Europe and in Brazil is just chock full of like, I don't want to say humble, because everybody's going to have an ego when you get to this point, but it's chock full of guys who are like willing to put in the work and actually grind their way to the top. But then in North America, through both T1 and T2, I find that there is a disproportionate amount of egos and people who are more focused on scrim clips or TikTok, or, you know, tweeting out after the game like, I got my frags, while the team gets absolutely like destroyed. Like, I don't know what it is, and it's quite unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, I'll cycle back to that first point. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you can tell other people how to be good at it, and it doesn't necessarily help the younger people, especially if the way that you're teaching people is just wrong. Lots of people can think that they know how to do it, come down to the T2 level, and then start telling people what to do, and it just doesn't match what the actual players are good at. So I think it's a very impressive skill to be like a teacher, to be a mentor, to be a coach. And that's honestly, it's why both of you guys are or should be, if you're not, so impressive to people in the scene, is because you were able to take pretty big personalities on both of your respective teams, and you were able to guide them, probably somewhat forcefully, but also probably somewhat gently, into a direction where you got the most out of your players. And for an event, you literally managed and coached the best team in the world. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it is good. I mean, you could, yeah. So these skills don't always translate. And again, like, you can be really, really good at something, but for the people who are good teachers, I highly encourage people to pass that knowledge on. I have given feedback to younger casters, to younger analysts, to hosts, etc. I've even given feedback to current T1 talent when they've asked, because I think it's very important that when somebody looks for guidance, if you can actually provide them a way forward, you do that. It makes all of us better. It makes us better. It makes them better. And if you can impart that wisdom and actually help people grow, I think it's a huge benefit for everybody. And it's obviously a big benefit for the scene.
Yeah. I think I made a tweet once about how, like, to go from T4 to T3 requires mechanics. To go from T3 to T2 requires communication. To go from T2 to T1 requires attitude, drive, and professionalism. And once again, I just want to touch on this, right? Because I'm going to build up to something. I'm building up to responding to you, Parker. All right? People don't understand, again, what that means, right? Like, at all. Like, think of the average person. The moment they step foot in Pro League and their soul is made happy by the fact that made Pro League, they're done. They are mediocre for the rest of their career. You have to be bitter. Like, you can be happy. Yeah, I made Pro League. Bitter on the inside. You want more to win your region, right? Bitter on the inside. That's not enough. I have to become the best in the world. And then you do that and then want to do it again. I fell off because I was satisfied with my championship. So that already, boom, done. I'm done. Right? Think about like Kobe and Michael Jordan. Why were they like, they seem like assholes all the time? Because they're bitter. They want more and more and more and more, and it's never enough for them. And that's why these players like Gio and Skies are so indispensable. Like, yes, they might not be at the same mechanical level as like this next 16-year-old, but they've got a spirit there from winning before and knowing how to be consistent with their attitude, with showing up every day, with putting in the hard work, with producing results from themselves. They know that. They have that in them. That I'm sure if they've really tried it again, they can make it all the way back up near the very top again. Because I remember at least as a fan, when I saw Canadian retire from SSG and then get immediately picked back up into DZ. And I was immediately like, wow, there's no way this guy's old. This guy's washed. There's just no way. Because I was a non-ball model. I had no idea, right? Because I was still this dumb T3 person. Like, oh yeah, these little kids can shoot. I want to get a little kid that can shoot. But it's the mentality, the championship mentality and attitude that's always there. That he just plays the game enough and he'll get on like an average level of mechanics, but he knows how to win. He knows how to lead. You know, I think that's indispensable, and I think that's what Geo and Skies bring to their team.
Yeah, I feel like the top teams. I've been lucky enough to be on a top 4 team basically my entire career, and like you could, like, to your point, like the professionalism, like getting in T2, like they don't know how hard, like, sure, just being in Pro League, but like the top teams, like, I mean, DZ, we were called like a military program because we were constantly working out together. We read books, book club together. One of our favorite books is Relentless, which is by an author that actually worked with Michael Jordan and Kobe and LeBron. Like, the people that have the mentality that you're talking about, because I personally believe at the top, again, everyone's so close. It's like 80% mental at that point, especially when you're going to events. You need to be doing other things. So like, I love the SSG program, how they're able to put, like, they're working out together. They're doing everything together. They change everything because it's like the 1% that actually truly matters. And, that's definitely something I think there's some T3, T2 teams that can probably learn a thing or two about that, because it's not all just aiming and shooting and clicking. 'Cause you're absolutely right. Like, you got to have the hungry desire in you, and you kind of like know it. Like when we're picking up players in T1, we almost kind of treat it like a football, like interview process in a sense. Like we're trying to get to know you inside and outside of the game, whether you're like, because we ran into the problem with Charlotte, same thing as you, Fett, where we won, and it didn't matter how hard that my presentation coming back was like, it doesn't matter. We cannot be, we can't just give up now because we won something. Like, this means absolutely nothing. Everyone's going to be circling us on their calendar. Like, we are going to, every single game is going to be a dogfight because we just won the major. Like, we have to put even more into it. It doesn't matter. Like, if it's not in you, it's not in you. And yeah, I mean, if you truly want to be great, you have to kind of have that dog in you, is like SG would call it.
I just think it's really funny how, like, it's so obvious to us, Mint, until like I spark up a stream and have to explain it to someone. Like, it's so, because like, I don't know, like you and this is for all the T2 players out there. Like, at least for the teams that make events that you're trying out for, that if you end up being lucky enough to try out for them, I promise to God, 80% of the time they are not looking at your kills. Like, I swear to God. Like, we like the most important things we're evaluating is like your character. Do you speak to everyone with respect? Are you calming everything? Are you facilitating plays? Are you doing your job properly, even in the losing rounds? Like, are you making everyone feel comfortable and happy and mentally resound, even round after round after round? That's what we're looking at. So there's so much intangibles that are so much more important, at least for the teams that make events. Okay, I don't know about the lower teams, what they're doing. I don't know what I was doing when I was running a lower team, because I was obviously stupid. But when I eventually prioritized sacrifice and hard work, I remember telling my friend group, I was like, when I blew up, when Beast Coast blew up and I was tasked with rebuilding it, I told people, okay, this time I want people who will bleed for this shit, and bleed for it they did. So yeah.
This is a conversation I think we've had before, but for younger people who watch this show, or younger people might tune into this show, and I say this on stream as well, when I do have like younger viewers asking, one of the best soft skills you can have, if you'd even consider it a soft skill, is just being a pleasant person to get along with. Like, if you are immensely talented, but you are just consistently an asshole, people will eventually get tired of you. And it's happened in casting, it's happened on teams, it's happened on streams, where it's like somebody who's really good at what they do, that you've never seen anything that would lead you to believe like, oh, they had a bad game. Oh, they like said something on a cast like that was really bad. And then suddenly they just disappear, and you're like, well, where did they go? A lot of the time, It's that they just were like exhausting to be around. Like I know I've spoken to teams where, you know, back in Vegas when all you lived out there were players where it's just like you get so, I mean, you're still there. I know you're still there.
I was never there.
You were never there. He's
I was
still
never
there. I have been to Vegas a few times. And thankfully I don't foresee myself going back anytime soon, but not really the point. I would love to see you and say hi.
Come
I would
on,
love to
man.
come say hi. Yeah, but that
Okay.
Vegas is Vegas. We can talk about that later. But I remember talking to teams when we would go out to Vegas from time to time, whether it was for the NA League or other things, and you'd go to, I went to a couple team houses, and some team houses just look like nobody knew how to clean at all. There'd just be garbage everywhere, and it would be like messy and dirty and whatnot. And I remember one team house, it was like, yeah, most of this is just one guy. And I was like, so why don't you tell him to clean it up? And they're like, well, we tried. I mean, it's like, it's him and, you know, like every now and then like his girlfriend will come over and it's just like they're both really messy. And it's like, we don't even like that he's bringing his girlfriend over to the team house because like it kind of destroys the vibes. And I'm like, okay, well, I was like, I'm not in the team house. I don't really care. I can see a good reason why if you live in a team house and you've got a partner, where the hell are you going to meet them if they're not allowed to come to your house? It's not like the team house is your office, also where you live. But then I also understand the whole, like, we don't want distractions. Like the team house is like a practice facility. It's kind of hard to not have that separation between work and regular life. But I was like, the point moreover is whether she's coming or not, is like, why don't you just say like, clean up after yourselves? Or like, if you guys are making good money and you're not paying rent, just pay for a maid. Like maids are not terribly expensive. Anyway, needless to say, there was conflict abound. That player did not last that much longer on the team. And from the outside looking in, their performance was fine. People wouldn't be like, oh, of course they got dropped because they weren't doing very well. People were kind of like, why would they get dropped? And it's the same with casting. There's been a couple people in the casting scene. And I'm not just talking about Rainbow Six. I'm talking across the entire esport. Because I have peers in other different games where it's like somebody who's incredibly talented will like suddenly stop working on a broadcast. And I'll be like, oh, what happened to so-and-so? And they'll be like, oh my God, they would show up and they'd be late, or they'd show up drunk, or they'd want to start fights, or they'd yell at production, or they'd yell at other casters, or they'd come into the green room and they'd be loud and inconsiderate. And it's like, if you are talented, or if you are hardworking and you develop that talent over time, you still need to be somebody that people can get along with. Like we live in a world where we are always constantly interacting with people. And if every single person you have to interact with, or at least particular people at work, are just a drain, it's going to come to a point where eventually either you move on or they move on, right? And it kind of ties into the point that we were saying earlier about like NA, whereas it's like, this is replicated across regular sports and traditional sports because NA as like North America in particular, but somewhat Canada as well, has such a focus on the individual over everybody else. You find that in regions, NA players tend to be more focused on themselves than the greater good of the team. Whereas if you look at other continents and other regions where there is more of a community-led focus just from like the ground up from birth, like you understand that like, oh, why are European pro players not tweeting about their shoes and Balenciaga all the time? Like, why are European players not like posting that they bought some like $150,000 sports car? Whereas all the NA pros that have been playing for like a couple stages are doing that. It's a cultural thing. And unfortunately, it makes you worse on a team because if you're only focused on yourself, what about the other 4 people, 5 people, however many people are on your team, right? So it's hard to get through to those people if they've grown up their entire lives talented, thinking that they are the only main character of the story.
Type shit.
Yeah.
I get pushback because people think I flame NA too much, but it's like I just think that I don't flame NA. I like NA. I want NA to succeed. I see to me very obvious deficiencies that should be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing really to add to it. I think you're absolutely right. I don't know what it is or why, but you even see it in sports. Because I was trying to think of an argument and be like, well, at least in esports, I do value players that have actually played sports before. I feel like that is a huge help in esports, being on a team.
Or even stuff like Boy Scouts, dude. Like anything where you have to like, you rely on people.
Yeah. you rely on people. You also know how to take criticism and like work together as a team and like talk together, collaborate together. When if it's someone that just kind of grows up just playing video games, they think they are the main character. They have a little bit of ego, and they need to read the book that the ego is the enemy. So, but yeah, but we do have it in sports too. Like, I mean, we get our butts kicked in the the Ryder Cup. For my golfers out there, which probably not because I'm old as hell. So, don't Fett, don't know me.
No. Yeah. No, yeah, it's absolutely true. I remember Call Out making a tweet about like, like how come no one these days has played a sport doesn't know how to take a fucking like or like take a coaching lesson, which I'm actually the opposite. Like I've kind of adapted around it to where I've taken like a gentle, flexible parenting approach to like whatever the player needs. But yeah, if we want to talk about the league as a whole right now, essentially a breakdown of the T2 league, because I feel like we didn't get to talking about the team. So just real quick, you have Skyte, J, Letters, Chicks, and Boots. So Skyte and J Lou, basically console boys. They stream their games. They are one series away from making playoffs. They're 2-1 in Swiss. Swiss is you win 3, you make playoffs. You lose 3, you're out. Right? The teams that are with Geo and Skies right now, Skies is on a team with Gasher, Kool-Aid, Wylecki, and Bless. Wylecki is from an underage team who used to be with Kaysen. Basically, they are the next up-and-coming underager squad that's supposed to be super, super good with all the talent to farm up with Adept as well, if you know that streamer. I have a really bad nickname from him that I will not be saying here unless I get pressure to, which in that case I will. Yeah, they are in... Where are they? They are 1-2. And next week, Karn & Co. or them will get eliminated. That's crazy. Old man Karn gone. Ever since winning Element a couple times with a really talented roster, it seems like he has not found the same success with his current roster, which is Deity, Bray, Eli, and Valen.
Karn's losing?
I think he's losing. I'm sorry, Karn. I believe that is my prediction right now. Speaking of college football and college sports, the first game, I believe I saw this on Twitter, a collegiate team has won its first ever game in Siege T2 in this element. That is the University of Akron.
LeBron.
Where they play, LeBron
Akron,
University.
Ohio. Did you say Akron?
Akron?
Akron.
Sorry. It's Plexios, Aimkey, Zosa, Space, and Silent. And it's actually not a bad team. Aimkey used to be a T2 player. That's the only one I know. But that's LeBron. That's LeBron. Now, RaidBullys is the other console prospect that you guys definitely do not know of, but I know of. Because basically, I've watched too many a console tournament in my time streaming Siege and pandering to the Jinxie audience that I know that RaidBullys is basically the LeBron of support on console. He's dropping 20 bombs with a TCSG playing the bitch role on console, right? So as a meme, I like to say that RaidBullys has a better legacy than Stompin, because Stompin couldn't manage to make Jinxie go positive, but RaidBullys could, because RaidBullys was playing support so that Jinxie could play other roles and not be support and go triple negative. So I think RaidBullys is really good. I think the team he's on doesn't really have a lot of like true veteran leadership. Like I think it's one thing to be experienced as a player because he's teaming with BJL and Kiru, but I think it's another thing to be a veteran leader, like to be able to translate your veteran ship to people. To your point, you can know it, but you might not be able to teach it. So they're struggling a little bit right now, I believe. Yeah, they're also 1-2. Any other notable teams? Packer is back. Just the guy that dominates T2 wherever he goes.
First place.
Yep, 3-0 already in playoffs. Freaky Frogs is Geo and Ivan. Interestingly, the best Mexican player in my opinion. Left Cruelty because he didn't like the coach, I believe.
We talked about this a lot, especially that Cruelty team. Yeah, you and I have talked about it behind the scenes a few times.
Mike W, I think is a semi-pro league ready prospect. Solo, who was a rebrand of Recited, who was dropping nuclear bombs all of last stage of CL. So that's they've already been another interesting team.
I thought we had did we not have a pro or a T2 pro named Solo Mint a while ago? Am I crazy?
I remember the name. Yeah,
I remember seeing a player named Solo like 7, 8 years ago. But I mean, at that point,
6, 7.
Come on, man.
No.
Come on.
Come on, dude.
Keep going, Fett. Come on.
Okay. Those are teams that made it. There's so many teams in here. I'm sorry to go over all of them. I'll try to skip over a couple here. Alex,
Whoa.
of course, that undefeated roster that has
What do you
not lost
hold on a
tournament.
second here. What are you apologizing for? The whole purpose of the show is to talk about this. What are you speeding through it for?
True.
What are you
Don't skip
speeding
over
through
Team
it for?
Kiri, or do I gotta barge in there for Team Kiri?
Ah,
Come
you
on.
you go ahead and talk about Team Kiri.
Team Kiri. Okay, well, first off, we got Space Shoes. Everyone loves Space Shoes. First off, best logo
Teddy!
in T2, right?
Yeah,
You got
Shoes is a
Teddy.
great logo.
You got Teddy. That's NJR's best friend right there. You know, you got Schmink. I heard a lot about Schmink from when I was at the Turtles. They would say he's an all aim, no brain kind of guy, but he did beat Dream in a 1v1. So, you know, Exige. Did either of you see? Have any of you seen the Turtle Tactics crash out with Nyx? No?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Exige,
Bro.
remember when they do you remember when they
remade
redid
it.
the clip?
Yes,
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
a
yeah.
person. Oh my god, who reenacted the whole clip. And at
Yes,
the very
as a
end,
group.
his dad comes in and he's like,
That was Eli.
Eli.
That was Eli. Yeah, yeah. So Exige was me. So I got to root for me.
Oh
That
my
guy's the goat.
God.
Anyway, so that's Shibs. I mean, that roster is just fun to watch. Like they're a lot of fun
Yeah.
guys. And then Kiri, of course, is Hakiki Mori. They rebranded to Kiri, and that's Spider. That's my guy. I literally think he is NJR and Gaveni. Like he's the talent. He plays the same roles as NJR. He's super clutch, and he's a mailbox, which NA breeds a lot of. And his vibes though are like Gav. Like he's just goofy as hell. But they actually have some like really good up and coming. Like Frozen, I think is a good IGL, and Ticey.
No, Frozen's not up and coming. You started with the wrong guy.
My guy. He's been around. He's been around. My bad. He's been
yes.
around. But like people don't know about him as much as like other people.
I coached Frozen back in NACL. That was my first ever T2 team was coaching Frozen, by the way.
Nice. Ticey, though, I do think is actually a really good player. I think and when you start talking about Canadian national team, when we get to, whenever that happens, there's not a lot of NA pros. You got Canadian, you got Spirits. You're going to have to look into T2. And at that point, you got like Solo, Deity, Ticey. Like,
Interro.
I do think there's, Parker might be coming back.
In what universe?
Yeah.
But no, I really do. I mean, for me,
yeah,
those are kind of like my favorites, and then you're about to cover Alex, who's like the other favorite.
Yeah, Alex is that team that hasn't lost. I mean, I've hope for their sake because I think consistency is very hard. I hope for their sake they continue to translate these to wins, especially actually maybe not this one. Maybe I want them to lose this one so they can actually win the relegation challenger series that would get them in the pro league, right? Black Stallions is Wimpy, Turbo, Milano, very OG names. I don't know if
is that Wimpy Kid?
Yeah, Wimpy Kid. I don't.
Why did they have to forfeit a game? By the way,
I don't know, man.
Their player DC'd and it was like too long.
Yeah,
they didn't have a fifth.
Dang, but Space Tube surprisingly got the upset victory over Alex, which I think Space Tube is always that like dark horse team to take out randomly good team just out of nowhere. I think they've always been known to do that. Certified Lover Boys is still that core of Center, Rice, and Asian. But now
Surf's
they have,
brother.
Yeah, Surf's brother. Rice, formerly Stomp and Support player, and Asian, formerly Paragon
and on DZ.
player. Yes, sir. Oh, and on Dark Zero. Yes, that's facts. Jason
Top
one on
8.
Snapchat.
Jason
NGO 1 on Snapchat. Make sure you add him. Vic Bands and Zombies. Don't worry, I've been saying this in far more popular videos. Like he's got thousands of ads. Don't worry. It's a running joke in their friend group. Yeah, Vic Bands used to also be a Stompin' teammate, so that's that one. Look over, and that's pretty much all the teams. I mean, Wanted Goons, Fozo, my old manager.
Fozo's back.
Yeah, there you go.
That is crazy that Fozo is still kicking around, and like he was, like I said, he was in a managerial role, right?
Yeah, he managed me. Yeah. He was my.
He was also
That's the fun thing with these though. Like every time they comes around, players out of nowhere come back, and Fett said it earlier, but when relegations is back and the new Challenger League season, I'm sure we'll see even more. I think Achieved even played in the last one, so who knows?
I thought he was long gone. I thought he openly said he's like, I'm free, I'm gone.
Maybe. Tommy was there. Tommy was in quals.
Tommy was in quals. Speaking of future T2 events. Spoit's hosting one,
He
and
is.
it's huge. And
It is.
I actually think it's brilliant. Producer Dave, if you want to pull up, I did not tell you to pull up any of the images during that whole segment, so I'm sorry if nothing pops up, chat. It's my fault. But producer David, could you pull up? Could you pull up the Spoit Contender Series tweet from Spoit R6 himself? Nice. I think
with like the government name, Spoit R6.
William Lofsted, Spoit Rainbow Six from Sweden.
Sweden, but he spent most of the last 2 years in Toronto.
That's true. He has spent less years in Toronto.
We went out. Troy, him, myself, and some pals have gone out a few times. Actually, Spoit joined us on my birthday in July. We went out to like a bar, and obviously Troy is a very good personal friend of mine, and he's like, "Do you mind if I bring Will?" And I was like, "No, like by all means, like,
happy birthday,
great guy." This is huge. I mean, we call it the Spoit Invitational. It's obviously called the Spoit Contender Series, is what it's actually called. But Spoit Invitational, I think, sounds great. But I mean, I also think it gets a little tiring when we call everything Invitational or something like that in Siege.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's on brand.
And it answers. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it. Lead. I was like, go ahead and lead off.
Are you sure?
Of course.
I'll go. No, I'm just kidding.
And it answers the age-old question that everyone has had for sure. If you put EU's T2 teams against the best of NA's T2 teams, who would win? No one's asked that question. Actually, but I have, because I remember when I watched Challenger Series, I was like, I don't know. Maybe NA would wipe the floor with EU, and I was talking mad shit because I was talking shit to EU, and then they won EWC, and I got really sad. And now all the EU fans are roasting me in chat now. But
it's too much.
I think it's a great idea. It's one of it's on par with the Challenger Series prize pool. So Element prize pools go down a little bit because they don't qualify for Pro League, of course. But when Challenger League is on, it's $40,000, $50,000 prize pool. Spoit's Series is a $50,000 prize pool with a LAN finals. That is really, really exciting. But with the non-Ubisoft, non-official organization of events, and I do want to say overall, I think it's a brilliant idea. With this third-party event being ran, there does come some issues. And the first, and I'm just gonna go in like a timeline of some of the little kinks that came up in the way. So if you could pull up Marmalade's tweet, the first issue that kind of came around was Marmalade immediately retweeting this and being like, "Well, would love to be able to play this, but qualifiers are on Monday and Tuesday at 3 p.m., which is way too early for people who have work and class." And typically that is why Blast and ESL and whoever's been in Siege host their qualifiers on weekends, right? Because typically in T2, T3, you have people that have jobs. You know, they can't just sit around and, you know, doubles. Whoa.
Sorry, you said the J word, God.
Sorry, you're right. My fault. I should never say that again. Yeah. And you know, I think they listened to some of that feedback and they ended up rescheduling maybe the land dates. No, not the land dates. I don't remember what they rescheduled. No, they rescheduled to avoid DreamHack, I believe. So if you pull up the Wilecki's tweet, he ended up quoting another Spoit reschedule and saying -$300 after refunding Airbnb and flights. Awesome. Mm-hmm. And in that reply chain, you'll see Gav running. Also is down on money from moving around stuff. Now I'm sure they can get it all resolved with Spoit and management. I'm sure. But regardless, it just goes to show like there's a lot that goes into the ideas and planning that the actual official tournament organizers do that is purely built off experience that we don't see. Like, why, if you ever see like a game that's happening, you're like, why did they go for this ruling? Why didn't they do this rehost? Why did they go for this? It's based off a lot of fucks ups in the past to ensure that we don't understand or see. And anytime like a third party organizer wants to make something big, you usually see issues like this come up. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts? Overall good, overall bad? Do you wish to see something do better? How do you think they could, you know, remedy the problems that have come up? What do you guys think of all this going on?
You would you like to go first? Do you want to flip a coin?
I would love to go first, actually.
Go first,
you know
please,
what? No, I'd love
by
to.
all
I'd love
means.
to. Well, first off, the Spoit Invitational, as we're calling it. I mean, first off,
We
this is
rebranded
great.
it.
this is all obviously like it's a good thing. Spoit is giving back to the T2 scene, and at a time where I think it is crucial. I see it a lot of people in the past when they're saying the T2 scene's dead. Look at EU T2; they have so much. Like there's so much over there. I think they have Malta coming up. They can qualify for coming up very soon too. I'm not too familiar, but I just know they do have a lot more. We have Challenger League and we have Element, and that's basically it. So giving back to the T2 scene and $50,000. I mean, this is the most like the best T2 tournament ever, plus an actual LAN event. As far as like, you know, the scheduling though, I mean, I myself had actually tried to host my own tournament. Nothing crazy. You know, my pockets. We're not Spoit, but I did try to host my own tournament, and I do know like the calendar for the rest of this year is pretty packed. Like, there's a lot. If you're talking weekends, like Element owns most of the weekends, kind of going forth.
Yeah.
And then we have regional finals coming up, and then we have obviously the Munich coming up, and then it's December and the holidays, and like it's very, very hard. So I know from like like that standpoint, they're trying to make it work. So I don't blame them at all, because I would not want to be in their shoes. It does kind of suck that sure it's on a Monday. I mean, I myself was casting on Monday, and you know, I did have a lot of people like, oh my God, it's already like, what's it doing on a Monday? Like, I'm working right now. I had no idea, like all this kind of thing, or people saying that they wish they could have participated. Luckily, I do know that there was invited teams, and I think that was the right way to go about it as well, is that they invited basically the best 8 Element teams or tier 2 teams. So like that is going to help the level of competition, because it's probably going to come down to those 8 teams in general anyways. But it was kind of cool that at least there was open quals. Literally anybody could have signed up, and that's exactly like what T3 teams need to be playing for. Like a chance at a LAN tournament is like, is that really ever happened besides like Philly or DreamHack coming up, which that's another event also that I forgot to mention about. Like, I mean, that's pretty cool that we have all of this going on, and that only helps, in my opinion, T1. That T2 teams have something to play for. Because normally what happens in T2, Element happens, and then nothing happens until the next Element season. So these teams break up, they just go play ranked, and then that's it. And like tier 1 teams that are trying to go to Munich have nothing, like no teams to play against, because there's no T2 teams anymore. They all broke up. Well, now, in my opinion, there's a reason for T2. Like T2 has never been more alive right now. They have no reason to not be scrimming for the next 5 months up until Challenger League, when I think it's in like March or something, like after SI. Like, there's no reason not to, because you got Element, you got the Spoit quals, you got and then you got Challenger League coming up. You even got SI quals. I don't know if they can participate in those. So I don't remember. If not, I don't know. But
My brain is so full of this stuff. I can't
remember. That's fine.
Yeah.
But regardless, again, like there's just so much competition happening. So overall, great thing. Hard to schedule, but I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand their pain. I think one of the, as I say this as a caster, one of the biggest issues that I have had, and I've talked about it on stream before, I've tweeted about it, I've brought it up directly with either people at Ubisoft or like ESL, Face It, Blast, whomever I'm speaking with. Basically, I don't understand why the schedule and upcoming events always seems to be such a closely guarded secret. It's not that these events aren't getting planned, and that's why we don't know. There are lots of times where I have to message teams to be like, when is the upcoming major? Because we were like, before Munich, Munich is a poor example because we've actually known about Munich for a little bit. But like, there have been times in the past where it's like, we're told, oh, okay, it's obvious it's going to be in November. We don't get given dates. Because we know that the finals are on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it makes it kind of easy for us to narrow it down. But there are times where I have to message like players and coaches and be like, do you know when this event is? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, when did you find this out? And they're like, oh, like 2 months ago. And it's like, how do I as a caster not have this information? Like, nobody tells us. And I can see that like somebody on the side of Shopify Rebellion working on this event, I bet you anything, probably went to Ubisoft or Blast, got a bunch of dates, did not get a complete list, and then just put out, okay, these dates look perfect, let's do this. And then it turns out, whoopsies, there's actually other dates that we weren't told about. Mm-hmm. And it is a bit frustrating that we don't seem to have all of this stuff like centralized, where one person can tell you, okay, like the next 3 weeks are this, and the next 2 weeks have this, and yada yada yada. And mind you, this is just me speculating. It's entirely possible that that's not what happened. Maybe they did know all the dates, and somebody on the side of Shopify Rebellion screwed up. I don't know. I'm not looking to attribute blame here, but I can definitely feel for 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who are basically doing this for love of the game, grinding through T2. As we've mentioned already on this show, a lot of them are not going to get an opportunity to shine in T1. A lot of them are not good enough to shine in T1, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't have opportunities to showcase their skills. Element 6 is a great way of doing it. The Spoit Invitational is also an amazing way of doing it. But for these kids, a lot of them don't work. Some of them do. Some of them are from privileged families where they don't need to work, and that's great. But the ones that do need to work likely are working out of necessity. $300 is a ton of money for an 18, 19-year-old kid to just lose. It's not even about like they've spent it on something and it wasn't the greatest. It's like they did everything right. They saw the dates. They took action. They booked things well in advance, as they should. And now they're just out money. And frankly, it sucks to read that, because really, like, I don't think this is a situation where anybody is really to blame. It's just there are lots of moving parts with competition. As you point out, there's tons of games coming up, whether it be teams going to DreamHack, whether it be teams, the NA League stuff, like qualifiers for the NA League, you know, Element 6, like now the Spoit Invitational. There's no shortage of games, and there's only so many days in a week. And you can schedule something for, say, like 7 p.m. on like Eastern, but then you got guys on the West Coast who are like, well, that's 4 p.m. for me. I can't do that early. Well, then what? Are you going to have a game at 11 p.m. on the East Coast? Because then it's a reasonable hour for the West, or on the East Coast, so that it's a semi-reasonable hour for the guys on the West Coast. What if it's a best of 3? Oh, I don't get home till 7 o'clock. That's 10 p.m. Eastern. You want to do a best of 3 at 10 p.m. Eastern? That's not fair to the guys on the East Coast. So it's like all of these things have like operational challenges and obviously geographic challenges, because it is such a big continent with lots of time zones, that you're invariably going to make somebody upset by making an actual decision. You know, I remember the discussion when the NA League, when we were filming in Face It, we decided to do it at like 11 a.m. or something like that. People on the West Coast were like, I'm not watching Pro League at 1 p.m. But in order to fit in a 5-hour show for the East Coast, we had to start at like 2, 3 p.m. or else it would run too late. So the West Coast got hosed. It sucks. And it really, really does. And it's part of what makes esports so difficult. But there's no real perfect way to run it. So like I can understand and appreciate the frustration that players have, while at the same time understanding how hard it is from a logistics standpoint to make sure that everything is scheduled properly on the side of the Spoit Invitational. And it's also worth noting that like Shopify Rebellion hasn't really run this stuff by themselves. So like they're kind of just, they're still finding their footing and they're still gaining experience here. So like you kind of need to cut them some slack, because like I've done qualifier streams that have been scuffed to hell and back because I didn't know what I was doing. And then 2 years later, when I'm running the streams, they're infinitely better because I actually know what I'm doing. So it sucks all around. I do hope that Shopify Rebellion is able to make some of these teams right, whether it be reimbursing costs or helping them in some other way. Who knows if that'll come to fruition? But I really don't want these types of missteps to hang a cloud over what is an incredible event. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of opportunity. It's a LAN. Like it's going to be, it has everything going for it to be amazing. And it would suck if it, you know, kind of stumbled out the gate, as it seems to have, but I think they'll recover.
Yeah, I think one of the best things about this event is the fact that they're gatekeeping it to be tier 2 and under players only. I think too many like Pro-Am or even the Philly LAN that they had in NSG was basically just overtaken by like a Pro Puckstat, you know, when it's supposed to be a tier 2 players LAN, right? So I think it's really good that they're enforcing that this is for tier 2 players. But like I said, like you said, I think the logical solution here is just to reimburse costs, basically just to even out what was lost, and let them recoup what they can recoup. Hopefully that'll fix things. I'm pretty sure they would do that. Like I have no reason to not think that the people on Shopify or Spoit himself or Spoit's manager and management team SBL would not do that. I think it's an easy, surefire solution, and I think overall what's happening is really, really great for the scene.
There was some drama with it. I do want to bring up.
I love drama.
That, since we love drama here, and you mentioned right there about T1 players not being able to play in it, right? It's a T2 and only.
Uh-huh.
So that actually goes to relegated teams, right? Standby, Cruelty cannot play in it, right? Wild, Wolves cannot play in it. They're not allowed, okay? Because they're technically stuck in purgatory, right? That's kind of how it's been deemed by, right? So they're stuck in purgatory. They have nothing really to play for until March. They're not allowed to play, which is probably fair. Like, do we really want to see Wild and Wolves? Like, we already watched them all year. Like, we're trying to see upcoming T2 towns. So I understand on that. But anyway, in the quals, apparently, so one of my subs has a team, and they're pretty decent. T3 I've coached, but he was matched up against Cruelty in the quals.
Mm-hmm.
And so we messaged, of course, like, hey, are these guys able to play? It was like a lot of Cruelty players. I think I'm trying to remember the actual one that was on the team. But we ended up basically getting them DQ'd. However, they came around into my Twitch chat and said, it's okay, Super. He allowed it. We cleared it with him. We're allowed to play. That team took their word for it, and they actually played the game against him, even though Super admins never said it, like they weren't not DQ'd.
Yeah.
So they ended up playing the game, losing, submitted the loss. Then the next team played them, got 7-0'd by them, and put a ticket in or a protest in.
Yeah.
Got them DQ'd. They were back in the tournament. But at this point, it was too late. They weren't able to actually go back and let the other team back into the tournament.
Yeah.
So it was kind of tragic situation. I mean, I guess they lied, or the team somehow lied and said that they weren't DQ'd and were able to somehow play the game, which is kind of scummy. And then just the whole them also not realizing it and like just taking it to official channels and just taking it to Super and like double checking and making sure, and like for how big of a tournament it was, like, definitely awful circumstances for them and their chances. But yeah, I mean, all this went down in the Twitch chat, by the way. So this was
that's why I think there really needs to be like a set definition of like what counts as a pro or a non-pro, like I remember like an argument I was having with my chatters back when I was watching like Gasher come back to play in Challenger. There was like, isn't he a former pro? How is he allowed to play in this? I'm like, okay, if you get dropped from pro, you're just never allowed to play anything ever again unless you're in pro again. No, but no, I agree. That's really unfortunate, man. Yeah, that's just a rough situation all around, huh? Because I was about to say, like, that's why I'm like so adamant on like posting videos about these cheaters and qualifiers, because it's like, well, you can never reverse the teams they beat, and like that might be like someone's dream and they might have been the next one, but they just get crushed and maybe they get discouraged from playing ever again because of that, but yeah, this is different because obviously they checked in with someone they thought that was reputable. So yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. You had the drama piece to throw in there.
Yeah, we had the scoop.
It's like scoop.
They took it with like a chip on their shoulder. They're like, it's fine. We're grinding for Challenger League, like on to the next. They're not going to let it define them. So
yeah,
all good.
Anything else that we want to add to this before we shift focus? We had a bit of a longer episode last week, and then we've got a lot more coming up next week, and then with the Super Show. So this one was always scheduled to be a bit of a shorter episode. Where producer David, we're in just a little bit over an hour and 20 minutes, somewhere around there, give or take. Hour 13. Good for us. We're crushing it. Anything to add from a T2 perspective before we move to the next topic?
Not at all.
I just want to add, just because we're talking about the Spoitational and it being NA versus EU, that the EU teams over there are looking pretty good. You got Geek, which is Hungary's team, and a bunch of really good, talented players on that are looking like the favorites to win the entire thing. And then there's another team called Twisted Minds, if anyone is familiar with the old Falcons roster, that would be my DZ teams. That's a Shampeak himself, guards. So some really good players that actually have some like T1 kind of really good experience at invites that I'm very much looking forward to watching. I think many would say that NA is definitely at a disadvantage going in. Like we're probably going to be sending maybe Packer Star and Geo or X Core, and we're probably at a disadvantage. But what I say to that is what happened in 1776. Okay. What happened? What happened when the Patriots were down 28-3? What happened on the Miracle on Ice, Parker, in 1980? Okay.
What happened at the Ryder Cup?
All right, let's not. Okay, moving on.
Listen, I will stand my ground and say that this is the event that NAT2 shows the world
Yeah.
that they are ahead. Fuck it. Fuck you, EU. Start the rivalry now. We need an original rivalry. Sorry. Please blur that if you can.
I mean, we do need rivalries for sure.
Yeah.
I think what we can, what hopefully hasn't been imparted on people here is, even if they don't like the granular aspect of this conversation about like specific players and stuff, and is that a healthy and thriving T2 scene ultimately benefits us all, not just because it helps equip players with the skills necessary to replace those in a T1 perspective, because there will be players who retire, there will be players who grow bored of this game and move on. We've said it on other shows, but I think it's always worth coming, like, you know, being brought up and coming back to it, is that, and it actually touches on the earlier conversation we had about like why people are playing in a T2 scene. For some people, they're doing it just for the love of the game. For others, they do it because they're good at it. And this is frankly a job. It is still a job for these players, right? Like if you want to go pro, you've got to put in the hours. If you want to be a professional caster, you need to do research. You need to do VOD review. You need to do stats. You have to talk about storylines and think about content with your duo and with the greater broadcast. Like there's work to be done. Like, yes, if you are particularly good and you are on a good enough team or you are in a particular region, you can get paid quite well. And your workload is far less than a typical like 40-hour work week. It's usually more enjoyable work, but at the end of the day, it is still work. So hopefully people are realizing that having a T2 scene that is thriving, and some of these players that play at a top level that are doing this because it's a job, they win a major, maybe they retire, maybe they realize after a couple of years, this has just been a job. I don't really like the game. I'm going to move on. Maybe I don't like competing. Maybe I want to do something else. It's still a job at the end of the day. So a healthy T2 scene allows us to have an upcoming group of players replacing those either, you know, needed because those players just retire. So it's like attrition, or they're replacing them because they're simply better, right? There are lots of good players in T2 that will eventually be better than some of the worst players in Team 1. And that's where that cycle comes to be. Also, from a broadcast perspective, a lot of the people working on this show, be they casters, be they analysts, be they production, be they admins, this is how they can cut their teeth in esports. This is how they can gain experience so that when somebody like me retires or moves on, there will be another caster waiting in the wings to come up to the T1 level and know what they're doing and have experience. And even beyond that, even if we look at like the actual, like the way that it helps our scene grow from like an actual like structural standpoint, it's just enjoyable. It's enjoyable for people to play in. There's constant activity. And you guys have touched on it a few times. Getting to watch players play this game while streaming it in matches, in scrims, then being able to co-stream. It creates this whole ecosystem where if you really genuinely love watching competitive Rainbow Six Siege, the more opportunities for you to do that, the better for you, but the better for the scene. And when you guys co-stream, whether you're co-streaming T1, T2, T86, I actually think Elements or Spoitational qualifiers are going on right now, if memory serves correctly, or went on earlier today when we were filming this. Like, that's great. You have ample opportunity to watch this stuff. Content creators have an opportunity to make videos on it. Players have opportunity to use it for their own benefit. It's great for the scene all across the board. So kudos to both Element 6 and to the Spoitational, or as it's officially called, the Spoit Contender Series, the SCS. Which, funny enough, the Siege Contender Series was actually the first thing I ever casted like 9 years ago. So to see the same SCS acronym is kind of nice. But let's wrap up this T2 conversation because we are at just a little bit over an hour and 15 seconds, or an hour and 15 minutes. Sorry, my brain is scrambled. My voice is fried. The Toronto Blue Jays just made it to the World Series. It was a particularly long and fun night last night. So I'm not as well rested as I could be, and my voice is a little bit fried from screaming. But let's move on to a topic that we tried to address last time, but unfortunately we just were not able to talk about it as much because none of us were well prepared for it. Let's talk about EML. We gave a good rundown of NA last week. We talked about Brazil a fair bit. Nobody here watches APAC. Fett, did you watch APAC last week?
No.
That's great because they didn't play any games. So here we are. We'll talk about EML because this was the region that people want to discuss. I believe it's the most watched region. I don't remember the data, but it's got some big teams in it. Guys, Falcons won. They were the best team. We talked a fair bit about VP. We talked a little bit about Team Secret. So before we start off by talking about this region, are there any teams or players in particular that you want to talk about that aren't named Stompin'?
I want to talk about Likeyfac.
You love this guy.
Wow.
We already did talk about it, did we not?
There is y'all talked about it?
No, you and I talked about it on the show about like most impressive rookie stage.
I'm just saying. They did a little change to the game before the playoffs happened. And then a certain operator, they little Buffy buffed, was Likeyfac's favorite operator. And then he played said operator again, and they won. Now, my thing, and I think this should be probably the main focus of this EML playoffs, is because, you know, Falcons won. Likeyfac picked Solus damn near every single round, at least from what I saw, and they dominated. Or they didn't dominate, but they played really, really well, right? And Solus got buffed of a couple more meters and impacts back, which is pretty significant for Solus. Pretty significant change. Lets you play underneath and all the bullshit again. What do y'all think of mid-season changes? Because I'm all for them, actually. I think pros should be able to adapt. I understand that it fucks them up, and I think League plays on an older build, if I'm not wrong. David? I think they do. But I don't know if they'll play on an older build. Yes, no? Ooh. Okay, so regional leagues, they go for the most recent patch. Is that what you're saying? And then at Worlds, they keep it on one patch no matter what changes happen. Okay, I'm with that. I'm with that format. I'm with all that. So I am personally okay with changes mid-stage, because if the game is in an abhorrent state, I would like to see the game modified, right, to be in a less abhorrent state for the overall. Like, if everyone just hates one thing, you know, and then we have to watch that one thing for the rest of Pro League. No, for the non-Pro League watchers out there that just play the game casually, do you have to play that for the rest of Pro League just because Pro League's happening? No, so change the game. I'm okay with it personally. I think pros should just adapt. What do you guys think?
I mean, I agree with that. When I was playing, I was in the state of a pro where I didn't want to change much because we felt like we were at a top level and we didn't want the game to change because, like, maybe that'll take us out of the top level, right? But as a viewer now, me watching, 100% I want to switch it up. You could look at other games right now. I know Call of Duty, if anyone follows that, is going through a little bit of because there are new games about to come out. The pros typically over there, like with their rule sets, they GA everything, gentlemen's agreements. So there's a lot of drama right now that they're over gentleman agreements, everything. You can, like, it's very boring to watch as a viewer. And I know, like, snipers, I think, were the latest thing that just got taken out. And, like, there's no sniping in Call of Duty. But when we think of Call of Duty, I think of snipers, right? Like, that's kind of the start of that game. And there's a lot of other fun stuff that I wish they would use. So I know that's kind of happening right now to try to revitalize their scene, because people are like, I mean, I think it was Hex on Optic was basically like, if snipers are not going to be allowed, then the org owners, we're going to pay you guys way less money because the league is not as entertaining, so we're not really getting as much revenue, kind of thing. So they're kind of like going at them like that. But then we kind of look into our league. I mean, what do you think, Fett, with like, so I agree with the midseason changes, but what do you think with like map changes? Because our closest thing to look at would be Valorant and CSGO. Right now, they are at 7 maps. And they don't often change that much. I think it's like once a year, if anyone actually knows better than me. But we're at 9 maps, and sometimes we don't change, right? And I think we are due, which is another conversation. But, like, do you think we should be switching? Because that's what is probably talked about the most in my chat. Do you think we should be switching maps, like halfway through a year kind of thing?
Ooh,
after every
Producer
major.
David
So
just
that's
telling us
information.
that.
Yeah.
Producer David, by the way, you can put your voice in the show. I know you're in our ear, but an omnipresent, like, voice of God is fine. Like, let the people hear you.
Amen.
Like, so chat, this is my first, it's been a long time. I have not called to action yet before Fett responds. Chat, would you like to hear the voice of God, aka producer David, the things that he says to us. Would you like to hear that in the show? Let me know, yes or no. Anyway, Fett, to Mint's question.
Wait, do you wanna spawn in, David? David, one time, right now.
David said
Right
we
now.
can make it
David.
work. Let's do it for the
David.
next episode. Yeah, let's just do next episode.
Damn.
Producer
That's
David has
an
been saying
awesome-
things in our ears. He also has a text channel where he's been giving us information. Basically, he said that CS is on path to change their map pool.
Yeah. I think between
After every
events,
major.
Yeah, I think between events is absolutely fine. I think that would be great, actually. I think Siege is one of those games where, at least as a spectator now, like all these things, man, you and I are both like, as a spectator now, we're realizing, oh yeah, like I think operator changes, like whatever, like that can be all very competitive and very, tied to the top level of the game, and I think that ends up balancing out. Most of the competitive games you see out there are balanced by the top level, and they have lasted the longest as such. However, I think there's some things that actually can be more fun. I think maps are one of those, right? I think like forcing a map rotation would be sick, honestly, because I think watching a CEO window take on Consulate for the 14 quadrillionth time,
You don't want to see Bank Basement again? But
I don't want to see Bank Basement.
I thought that's your favorite site.
No, no.
Tachanka smoke. Here we go.
Do you like it too? Be honest with me. When you watch an open area layer down Red Hatch again, and then a guy on blue stairs again, and then do you like?
I hype it up. I hype it up. The Holy Trinity. You got Goyo. You got Smoke. You got Two Brow. Every single defense. Here comes Tachanka. There goes the line.
Oh my God, no. But yeah, I think watching the process of teams figuring out maps is one of the most joyous things I like doing as a spectator now. Like whenever a new map comes out, like watching people like streamline down the takes and figuring it all out and inventing new stuff, that evolution cycle I think stalls out a bit, and I think that's the perfect time to get something out. On the other hand, I actually think fuck the pros on what they have to say about the maps, because I think Coastline would be great. I think Coastline would be great. And people are like, oh, you're just gonna get 6-0 attack halves. What was Oregon when it first came out? What about Theme Park when it first came out? What about Villa when it first came out? It was like, oh, we're gonna get a 5-1 skyscraper 5-1 defensive half every single time, right? Like you expected that. If you didn't get a 4-2 attack, like if you didn't get a 2-4 attack half, you lost, basically, right? Or some shit like that, right? Like that's literally the words of a former DZ player. I don't know. I don't remember who, but like it's the same thing on Coastline. You'll figure it out. Fly off, bro. Figure it out.
Yeah.
I've said this before, just very quickly. I have no problem with them subbing in maps that maybe are not like the best. Like bringing Villa or Coastline back in their current iterations would not bother me. Like I think even Fortress could see some play. Like I'd like to see what they can do with Canal, even though I'm very obvious that Canal has some serious problems. But like, what's the harm in trying it? I think as an esport, we try to keep competitive integrity top of mind. But as with the Call of Duty situation, at the end of the day, this is a game, right? Like the main focus of Call of Duty is to cater to casual gamers and be fun, right? Like that's it. And like, yeah, you could argue that playing like Outback into Canal is not fun. Sure, you can make that argument, whatever you want. But like pros will adapt, and pros are not always right. Look at how long Finca stayed in the game at her state until somebody just discovered that she was really strong when paired with somebody else. Pros want to focus on very narrow things and get really, really good at it, and then never want them to change. I think I talked about this on a show where after the Atlantic City Major, they had teams vote on which maps would get removed from the map pool. Skyscraper ended up getting removed from the map pool, if memory serves correctly. And the only teams that voted to keep it were the teams that were good at it. Like, that's it. Like, the teams that are good with it are like, yeah, it should be stuck around. And it's like, why? And it's like, there was a vibes-based answer. It was like, well, we're good at it. We don't want to get rid of one of our good maps. And it's like, well, it's not up to fucking you. And it's not like, that's not how we balance a game. Like at the end of the day, we have to somehow manage to make an esport that has competitive integrity compelling and exciting. And if it's the same 9 maps for 3 years and there are very few operators that are coming in and making actual changes on the game, it gets kind of stale and boring. You need to be able to change this up. And I think doing it with the map pool is a great way to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that you said Canal, and then to your point too, Fett. I mean, 100%. You could just force a map. Like I know a lot of people hate Outback, but my hot take is like 6 months, you'd probably be nasty at Outback.
EP,
Like,
EP, not bad of a comp map, low key. Like,
yeah. I mean, look at we didn't want theme park, they forced it in, and then
yeah.
I was on DZ. We loved theme park.
Oh,
like
yeah,
we
yeah.
People
you know
hated
what I mean?
Lair. People
Lair?
hated Lair.
I love
Hated
Lair.
Lair.
Yeah, people still hate.
I think it's the
Lair.
best map in the pool right now. So it's like
Facts.
like people like we are often wrong. I am often wrong. Like I give a map like Fortress, give a map like Outback, give a map like Canal 6 months of people actually playing it, and then we can say, hey, yeah, this was a terrible idea, let's get rid of it. Or, oh, actually, this was kind of cool and it actually works great. Like,
yeah. And then we go like I think it reintroduces, like, I think Pro League dictates what's popular in ranked, actually. You know, like it's like a trickle down effect. I think Pro League dictates what's like default knowledge and really commonly acceptable strats and popularized advanced way to play in ranked. It goes all the way down, and it might even revive maps. I think if we put Yacht in, like,
No.
it sounds crazy. No, but it
No.
sounds crazy.
No.
But we might get the sickest video of all. Like, we might get the sickest strat of all time on Yacht.
that map is so bad from a competitive standpoint.
I used to scrim on that map. Now though,
No.
Well, you never know. You never know.
Also, as much as I'm enjoying this conversation, we did the exact same thing that we did last week, which was we started talking about EML and then we started talking about something completely fucking different. So we did it again, where we're like, hey, let's talk about EML, and you're like, let's talk about Leaky Fact and also Solus, and let's talk about changes. Like,
so true.
we have wandered
Back to
all
EML.
over.
Back
We
to
wandered
EML.
all over. We could come back to this, but let's get EML out of the way so that people don't whine again. It would
Out
be
of
very,
the
very
way.
funny if we just for like 5 episodes in a row we kept doing this, where we just kept rug pulling, where we'd be like, yeah, let's talk about EML, talk about it for like
polling.
after the eighth episode, we finally made it through most of the teams. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah.
To your point about Solus, though, I do think it's worth discussing. Her pick rate has shot way up. Still very good on a lot of sites, still very good on some maps, but nowhere near as versatile as she used to be. She's in the territory, Mint, that you talked about last week, where she's a niche pick. She's good now and then. She's not good all the time. She, it depends on who you are and if you want to bring her. But like, there's use cases there now. She's certainly better than she was. And it'll be interesting to see how Leaky Fack and Falcons do with her, frankly, because she is strong in the right hands. Obviously, it's abundantly clear that Falcons is one of the best called teams from an outside perspective. They change things up more than most of their opponents, I would argue. And that really just comes down to comms and the team's depth. The thing that's going to, kind of unite every single team at the top of all their regions is that all 5 players are good at a bunch of different stuff. So you can flex positions, you can flex wherever you want. But outside of that, we had the top 6 teams, and then the 4 teams that qualified were Team Secret, Team Falcons, G2, and Team BDS. Let's talk solely about those 4 teams for now, because then it can tie into our final discussion, which will be the Munich Major, unless there's a team you want to talk about, because it seemed like you were a little...
I mean, I could give a summary about the entire EML, to be honest. I can go team by team.
Go for it.
Take us
I
away.
can go team by team. Okay, I've myself have enjoyed watching EML and Stompin', of course. I think, first off, EML is only good right now because of Stompin'. Like, let's just keep it facts. Like, NA, red, white, and blue. Finally, there's someone good there. Okay, but anyway, on a real note, literally, like, I've actually been impressed. I actually think EML is very competitive in a sense of, like, look, Wild was a team that got relegated. So I'm going to start at the bottom here. Wild was a team that got relegated. And first off, they made a change in support staff, and they brought Rando Sando over, which I believe is like from Elevate over in APAC. Maybe Fett or somebody knows more than me.
Why is Rando Sando the name I recognize so much?
It should be. He's got a great voice. That I've heard. Okay, anyway.
I feel like maybe Rando Sando is a viewer of mine on Twitch, because I remember saying the name a bunch. But anyway, I have known so many people through this esport. I forget half of them just because there's so many.
Known coach, and I think he made a big difference over there. Like, you could see it day one, like literally against their game with VP. Before we knew VP was falling off the wheels, which I'll get to in a second. But literally, they went into that game extremely well prepped, and I called like all of their counters out against VP, because VP, everyone knows you play the same bank. But like, even at all of their games going forward, you can tell like they were very much improved. It had a lot of prep work, and it came down to the last 3 play days where I'm going to be honest, they kind of choked, or as SSG
Wild?
puts it, they kind of yes, wild. They kind of
Yeah,
shit
they
their
got
pants.
smoked by 2 bad teams.
Exactly.
Well, they
So
didn't get
they
smoked,
had
but they lost. Yeah.
they had a chance to actually make playoffs, and then they go on to lose to the Wolves, which should not have happened, and then they go on to lose to Matchco, which should not have happened. So they did it to themselves. They shot themselves in the foot. I was impressed by them. It's sad to see them relegated, but they had their chance. They just shit the bed, is what it is. Matchco, they dropped actually after stage 1. This guy was negative 60 to 70, I believe it was. His name was Ghost. If anyone remembers him. And I think he was actually like an entry fragger. So they dropped Ghost, Riddick. And I'm thinking, wow, they got rid of this guy. They're about to bring on some like how do you not get better dropping someone that bad? They pick up a 27-year-old rookie. 27-year-old rookie. What was his name again? Raiden, thank you, who actually was like a coach, I think, at one time. They bring him in, and they brought him into IGL, and halfway through the season, he wasn't IGLing anymore. They made the switch back to TEB, so obviously that experiment failed. Was not looking good for them. You can kind of see how lost they were in their attacks, and I mean, that kind of translated to basically the rest of their season stage. They kind of struggled. Maybe they found their footing near the end when they were able to beat Wild, but then they got 7-0'd by G2. So who knows what's going to be looking forward with those guys.
Which I thought was just so cruel, by the way. Like, for those who don't know, that was their chance to make it, and G2 was second no matter what, like second seed no matter what. And I like that was actually like I've never seen Stomp and play so aggressive actually in my life. He was running at them and tearing them apart. So anyways, continue.
Luckily for them, they had a pretty decent stage 1, so they're still going to be, who knows if they'll make changes kind of going forward. Virtus Pro, I mean, the wheels completely have fallen off that ship. And Troy, we talked about VP a little bit. He loves VP. I think you do as well. What did I say?
You said the
wheels have fallen off that ship?
wheels have fallen off that ship, and I said, do ships have wheels?
You know what? You know what's in my mind? How often 2 ships passing in the night comes up on cast. That's what was in my mind.
Fuck off. So, but for the record, I'm surprised you haven't made fun of the bandana yet, because when I first reached out to Mint months ago, and I was like, "Yeah, we're thinking about bringing 6-on-6 back. There's some interest here. Would you be interested in like co-hosting from time to time?" And he goes, "Only if I can wear a bandana like you." And I was like, "It's such a hurtful response."
How? My hair, I'm literally getting your hair. Like I
like the flow, dude. I like it. We've all got longer hair.
Yeah, what's going on?
Eric's got a mane too, man.
Is that just like not getting a haircut? Bless you.
I think you should
mute.
Listen.
Not again.
I think we should drop cards back up.
Okay, so I'm actually with you. I'm actually with you on that, Fett. Honestly, they went back. I think you can agree, right? I feel like it looks like they went back to their pre-even stage 1 play style. Because stage 1, I saw a triple shield strat out of VP. I was up. I was pumped. I was like, what is happening right now?
I saw VP cheese once, and I was like, holy shit.
It was like, holy crap, they're trying to get a grasp on the meta. Stage 2 is going to be great. Stage 2 came. I don't think a single cheese. I don't know what was happening. It's like, let's go back to the defaults. Let's go to the fundamentals. Not going to work in the meta.
Yeah. Stage 1 was like they started off with like a mix between cheese and slow, which was like their best. And then they just slowly, like over the course of stage 1, slowed it back down, and they started stage 2 off slow, and they got even worse.
Unfortunately, because I love watching those guys too, but I think in this day and age, you can even look at like some IGL roundtables over in CS:GO for a game that's been around longer than us, to see that after a while you have to be able to mix up your play style. Yeah. After a while, you have to know how to play fast and slow to be a competitor at the top. You can't just be predictable. Maybe that worked in the past when we were learning the game and getting really good at defaults and people moved too much and we were able to isolate picks. But we are now at a stage of Siege, and I don't see it ever really changing. I think you have to be able to do both. You got to be able to change up the tempo, play a little bit like SSG here, play a little bit like VP here, right? You can still have good defaults, but you got to be able to mix it up and throw your opponents off and throw the other IGLs off. Like, that's going to be the advantage.
Yeah.
So I agree with the Karzeka. Like, I think I don't know, they got to bring a different coach in, because the players there, I don't want to blame the players. I do think they're, I do think they're all very experienced players, have been playing together for a while. But I do know that there's also some upcoming Russian talent. Some of them are on Hungary's team. I think there's 2 of them. So I don't know if maybe there's even potential roster change there. I don't even know how old Shepard is, but could be time to hang it up soon. Who knows?
No, don't say that.
No? Okay.
No.
Damn.
We have to have the VP team on this show at some point.
Damn.
There we go.
I know
we
he's
go.
trying to will Shepard's retirement into existence. I think it's
No.
quite disrespectful.
It is just, that guy, one time we were playing him, that's the game Nafe costed us, I think, $20,000 when he whiffed on Black Stairs, the skyscraper.
No.
But it was before that map. I did prep work on them, found all their drones, as one would, playing VP on Bank. And we were in the bathroom, and Shepard walked up to me at the urinal and said, I know you know where our drones are. That shit was intimidating. In the bathroom right before the map too, like, damn. So, yeah.
New show idea. Bathroom confessionals. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Because I have a VP bathroom story. Well, it was technically Team Empire. It was right after that Coastline match at SI, and my voice, I didn't have a very good control of my voice when I first started, so my voice would often be fried after like a day or two of casting. Obviously, I went to speech therapy. Things are a lot better now. My voice is in much better shape. But because of that, I would drink a ton of water and honey and like tea to try and like soothe my voice. But obviously, that means you have to pee a lot. So it would be like, it would get to the point where like the moment a map would end, I would have to run to the bathroom because we only had like 5 minutes before maps. I went to, so because of where, were they G2 at the time or were they Penta? I can't remember. I think they were G2. Because of where G2 and Empire were seated in like the stadium, they used separate bathrooms, but the casting desk was closer to the bathroom that Empire was using. So I go into the bathroom and literally all the guys from Empire are just in there and they're just like staring into the mirror like they've just come back from war, just like. And the moment I saw that, I got back to the casting desk and I turned to Kix and I was like, they're not lasting the next 2 maps. This thing's over. And sure enough, they got mercy killed the next 2 maps. That's my Empire bathroom story.
I think
A combination of words I never thought I'd say in my life, but here we are.
I don't have an Empire bathroom story, but I had the Brazilian bathroom theory where if I get a Brazilian analyst and I sit him in a stall for the entire event, I would get unbridled info on teams because I feel like a lot of game planning goes on in bathrooms at events. A lot of
and they just know that we can't understand them. No, that's actually tech, Fett.
Yes, I get him to tuck his feet up on the stall and just like text me.
That is so tech.
Oh my god.
Not trying to drag us away from this EML talk, but I remember it was at Milan.
How dare you?
It was at Milan, and we went to catering, and it was right after FaZe Clan had won their game. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember if they beat Listream or something like that. They beat somebody, and I just remember they're all in catering, and it's mostly just like production, and FaZe Clan is just all shouting at each other in Portuguese. And I remember one of the Polish guys from ESL just goes something like, he's like, "How can you be so angry at your teammates when you just won your match? I don't understand."
That was Gohan and Mav, right?
I don't think Gohan was on the team at that point. I think he'd been departed. Mav was on the team. I think Cameraman was on the team.
Yeah.
But they were all like shouting at each other. And I was just like, okay. I was like Astro, Cyber, Mav, Cameraman, I think were on the team. And I was just like, okay, guys, like.
Yeah.
So.
What else happened at Milan?
Okay. In my defense, I did not mention the C75 on the show last week deliberately to piss off Troy. I actually had memory hold what gun he was using. And then somebody sent me the tweet where I said something on Twitter and he responded to my tweet with some really rude response. And my tweet response was literally just a photo of the C75. Didn't use any words or anything. It was like, I said something and then Troy was rude and the tweet was just the C75 photo. No words, nothing. And somebody sent that to me after the show last week. I thought it was, and I was like, I didn't even mean to do this. I didn't mean to come after him like that. Anyway, there's the white stairs for people who are wondering.
Let's talk about that instead of EML again.
Let's move on. Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. I'm just kidding. Like, let me finish my little summary real fast. Because we got Fnatic right after VP, and Fnatic people dog on them for making roster changes after every stage. Like, what are they doing over there? Blah, 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 blah. I actually think their last pickup was actually really good. And I actually do think personally that they have a really good core. They got Croxon over there. Wizard, who we like to say is the EUL or EML stomping. Sarks, Jegs, Daypek, major winner with Spoit. Like, I actually do think they have a pretty solid, good core over there. I do think maybe the flaw that'll eventually catch up with them is like no one's really the IGL. I think they've come out and said that it's an IGL system and they're trying to figure it out together, but they've looked really good, specifically even on like certain maps like Cafe, which people kept taking them to. They kind of have their own style. They like to play a lot into like Valkyrie Pulse. It reminds me of like the young meta, like these young fraggers just kind of running around doing whatever they want. And it does work a lot of the time. Unfortunately for them, obviously, I mean, they got 7th. They were a point away from making the finals. They had a really good chance, or playoffs rather. They had a really good chance, again, just kind of like Wild did, where their last 3 games were against VP, Gen.G, and BDS. And like, I guess the lights were possibly too bright for them. For the young team, they weren't able to kind of move up. But I do see that could be a potential landing spot in the future. I've heard rumors, not to bring up anything maybe that hasn't been talked about before, in the past, where because that is a big org, they have a decent amount of money, right? They've been in the scene for a while. That could be like, who knows if people make some roster changes. I know they tried to get Spoit and rebuild around him before he went to Shopify. Well. And who knows we'll see what goes down with DZ, but that could be potential for even some people on DZ, Ben, Nafe, if they would like to part from the British, or the British would like to go home. Because, like, let's be honest. Let's talk about for a second. Like, when you're playing internationally in a different country and you have a house or you have your family back home, like, being away from home is tough. Who knows if they even, you know, you don't want to be on an international team and not making events and, like, being away from home. That sucks. They might want to go back. This is one of those English-speaking teams that does have a nice, solid core. We never know what could happen with like another roster change or two, which I know Fnatic and roster changes, but I'm setting them up. Like, I do think they are kind of on a good path. They might need another change. Who knows? They're a young team that kind of, they kind of have my eye at the moment. Then there is the Wolves. I think this was, for me, I was kind of riding this story so Wolves are relegated, right? They are not in Pro League anymore. They lost their jobs, which sucks, obviously. But they were in playoffs, and they actually they had a chance to do the funniest thing ever. They had a chance to make Munich and still make SI as a non-Pro League team, which would have been, I mean, what do you, like, that's a very tough situation to be in. First off, like, you get relegated, you're obviously thinking about, like, what's next. Like, I think Kenny had a really sad, depressing parting interview on the EML. Like, we have no idea. We haven't talked about it. The org's not talking to us about it. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, like, that's like a decision up to the org. I think the org is, I think their owner is in China. And, like, I think there is a Wolves team over in China. So we could even see them just dropping the team. Like, that's a real possibility. So that sucks. And then to have to still play and prep for playoffs and still have to, they were 1 game away from being in Munich. They played the BDS where, I mean, they got kind of destroyed, but the week prior they looked really good and they almost beat Secret. They should have beat Secret. I think they were up like 5-1 or something like that on Lair, and then Secret just won 6 attacking rounds in a row. So anyway, that was a pretty good storyline, but I mean, who knows if and when we'll be seeing any of those players again. Leader and Noodle have been, you know, a duo for quite a while. We'll probably see them again somewhere. I know they were in APAC at one point as well.
Noodle's got a great voice, by the way. I think he could do well on a broadcast.
No, we trialed him one time, and the first thing I thought was like, holy cow, this guy's got a great voice. Like,
he's got a really good voice. Yeah.
I would listen to this guy.
I actually remember, I think it was Atlanta. I think it was Atlanta where he did a bunch of interviews, and I'd heard his voice before, but I'd never really heard him speak. And I think I shot him a message being like, obviously you're young, don't quit playing. But if you do ever want to do anything like with your voice, you sound great. Like, obviously there's more to it than just that, but having a good voice is like step number 1. So
it helps. I really pay attention to a caster with a deep voice. That kind of gets me. But anyway,
I think having a British accent is an unfair advantage. Also, if I randomly disconnect, is because my cat's on my PC and press my power button. Never mind, she's
no cat. Okay, BDS which is kind of basically the old Wolves in a sense, at least the support staff of Helby and Liloon and, but I think they had a new IGL recently switched to English, I believe. I saw the Helby tweet, which was P4. So they had to he kind of had to learn how to IGL in a different language. I think they're switching over to English. Obviously, they have Virtue over there. Freck is kind of their upcoming star, who was like a top 2 player in stage 1, and I mean definitely had a lot of pop off games in stage 2. I think Alfama frequently picks him as like a dark horse, like top 3 team for him. Like they do have a lot of potential on paper when you look at the team. Robbie used to play for the Falcons and at SI, and he was a top player at SI's. Virtue obviously has been around the block. He was on Secret, I think, before.
Robbie's good, and he's good on land too. Like
exactly, he showed up on land, like he's been proven. So I mean, they're kind of like right now it's kind of like an inconsistent team, and I think you could just kind of chalk that up to growing pains. They're kind of trying to come up with a new style that's not the Wolves. They're kind of trying to come up with their own system, according to Liloon, like figure out their strengths and build their team instead of just like, here's the Wolves system, we're the Wolves. Like, no, we're going to build off of our players. I think that's the right way to do it. And again, they have a lot of talent and experience on the roster, but did they end up qualifying actually? Am I crazy? No. No. Oh, wait, they did end up qualifying. So we will see BDS, right? That's that 4th team that's going to be at Munich, and we can talk about the Munich teams in a second. But then it's Gen.G, and that's kind of where it gets interesting, because like Gen.G and BDS are like, you could kind of say EML is a top 3 league. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that, but EML is kind of pretty top heavy with those 3 teams: Falcons, G2, Secret, right? Like that's the 3 teams. That's maybe NA, we like to say we got 4 juggernauts, although DZ not here right now. But EU definitely has the 3 juggernauts with Falcons, G2, Secret. So the 4th spot is very highly contested. Gen.G took it at EWC. BDS now has the spot for this major, so kind of trading off. And Gen.G are kind of that upcoming team as well. I mean, that used to be Ents, I believe. Half the team was Ents, and half the team was...
Is that French Korea events?
Yeah, French. Yep. And then there was some Wolves players on there, right, with like Deadshot. And I mean, the story for them is like, I think they improved like big time in stage 1 from stage 1. Yeah. Doki actually called them putrid. Okay, they were putrid attacking team, but Deadshot was like a top 3 player for most of this stage. He kind of came out of nowhere. I know he kind of gets his nickname and it's something else, but I don't think he was performing like that at all. I think he was actually having a really, really good stage, and you could see him getting a lot more comfortable. Skies as well, not Alex, not World Championship.
This is a whole other conversation for another day, by the way. Like, branding is like, I get that you want to be called Skies, but there is an infinitely more well-known world champion player named Skies. Maybe pick a new name. Like,
yeah.
Very true. But anyway, Skies, another phenomenal player, usually using the 417 and getting a lot of kills himself. But Gen.G, I don't know who their IGL is, and I think that's still kind of their struggle as the newer team trying to break into the cusp. I think what separates the top 3 teams, where usually the top teams, is an IGL. And yeah, you don't really see a clear one on like BDS and Gen.G that are like a world championship caliber. So like, unfortunately for them, they kind of fell down, but there was improvement. They did have a lot of standout players this stage. Still a team to kind of keep an eye on, but who knows if they're going to make roster changes or anything like that. They are kind of, the young cores. It's very similar to BDS. Like, you could just roll into the next stage and be totally fine and just, see what happens and just keep learning, because they have improved. I mean, they got 4th. They were pretty dominant in the stage early on.
Yeah, they beat G2 pretty handily too. And I remember like, oh my God, they're next up. I was like, this is like Shite Code 2.0. And then they just got slammed by G2 in the lower bracket. I think what I want to say about Gen.G is I think they're still putrid at attack. I think like they're like the EU M80 if EU M80 had no idea what to do after initials. Like, if that initial phase of the round doesn't go right for them, M80 know what to do. They just decide to do the same thing, and that doesn't work on like certain maps, and that's why they look putrid on certain maps. Gen.G are lost. Like, Gen.G are so incredibly, like, genuinely lost if they lose 2 opening picks. They have no idea what the next step is. They have no idea. Yeah, they're amazing on defense. They're amazing in the initial part of the attacking round. The moment a wrench gets thrown into their attack at the beginning, they become lost.
No, I'm 1,000%. Yeah, no plan B, and that's definitely what they got to work on if whoever's going to take over the IGL, because that again is what separates you from being a world championship team. You have to be like the Siege is not perfect anymore. You have to be able to adapt. You're not always going to have your 5v5 and you're going to get the opening kill and you're going to execute. Like that's never ever going to happen all the time. So, no, fully agree on that. I don't know if it's also a coaching thing as well. I don't know, anything really about the coach over there, but Secret, they had a slow start to the stage after winning EWC, but and a lot of people would joke, maybe the oil money curse, perhaps. I argue my theory is like once you win, they probably took a good amount of off time. I don't know about you, Fett, but like they probably took a good amount. Like, hey, yeah, we could probably take a couple, like a little bit of a break. Like we're okay. So that's what I kind of think might have happened for the slow start.
I think. Oh, sorry. Did you have more?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I think I said this with Parker separately on a different show. I think it's more just like you become everyone's default. Like if you watched EU this stage, it was like significantly more aggressive than the first stage, which is already pretty aggressive.
Oh yeah.
But like the fast lurker, like 2-3 fast lurkers on like every single push. All of the teams that were like lower half last stage were all adopting this. So I think they had to go like a couple extra steps of like reinforcing like we are the best at this style, or we added a little bit more to this style to reach back to the top, because I think literally when you win, your specialty becomes everyone's default. And when you becomes everyone's most studied team, everyone knows all your tricks. It's, it's very easy to catch Mowgli on he will never leave the position. Easy first pick, always. Savage, what's he going to do? He's going to flip the push. Expected. Bing, bang, boom. And then you beat him a couple times, and then they adjust a little bit. That's what I think happened.
No, 100%. Like like everyone circles you on the calendar. We're going to be playing the EWC champions, right? They watched all the VODs. They got to be innovative. But they did come out on top at the end, right? They were able to pull through. Their play style ended up maybe just, they just had to kind of figure out what their new style was. Also, argument to be made, June might be the best EML player. I think that guy is absolutely insane. And also Savage
last week, didn't we?
We might have. I don't know.
I can't remember if we said it on the show or if we said it in private, but I agree with it.
Okay. I know I was talking to Super about it as well. Also Savage, which I know June shouted out. Savage definitely needs to get his flowers too as an IGL over there. The play style, like the way that they're playing the game is absolutely perfect from their system, like for their system, for their players. And as an NA fan, that's probably the one team that I don't know if I want an NA team to play against, because I feel like that is going to be a dogfight no matter who it is. Like they're just they so fast, so cheesy. The Mowgli lurks, like they kind of have it all right now.
Yeah, they slaughtered M80 and Reload, and then slaughtered Shopify, I believe, right? EWC. So I'm scared. I want to see the anime boys go far right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
One thing just to weigh in on very quickly about Team Secret, outside of the really rough start that they had to EML, that I think it was our first episode. It might have been the second episode since we came back, which would make it like episode like 32 and 33 for those that keep track. Team Secret started without a win in their first 3 games, right? And it wasn't until they picked up some points in overtime, but I mean, like their first win came against Gen.G in week 4. And we talked a little bit, Fett and I, about like the championship hangover that does tend to come. I know that EWC is maybe not taken as seriously as an actual like proper calendar event by some teams, but there are definitely teams that treat it as if it's like every other event and you're going to grind for it as hard as you can. But Secret, whether it is at EWC or now through all of EML's group stages and through the playoffs, is the one thing we should be taking from this team over the last 4 months is Secret are at their best when their backs are against the wall, right? Like when we were looking at the numbers through the first couple play days of EML early on in this show, we're like, well, the likelihood of them even making playoffs at this point is really low. They finished, just outside of the top 2. They qualified and then just narrowly lost out to Falcons in that grand finals. Like they seem to level up when the expectations are low and when it looks like they're about to completely collapse. And that's kind of a scary thing, frankly. Like right when you think you've got them on the ropes and it's over, suddenly, they hulk up. That's frightening. And there's really no way to like plan for that or deal with that. And it'll be fun to see at Munich if that's the same team that shows up, because, EWC is EWC, but I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I think the teams going to Munich are better. I think the fights are going to be better. I think the matches are going to be better. I think it's going to be stiffer competition. And this to me is really going to be a great judge of, or a great show of us of how strong this team is. Because if they blow up at Munich and don't end up being that good, we're just like, they farmed EML and EWC's whatever. Nobody really, I don't judge EWC the same way as other events. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but that to me is going to be the real test here for Team Secret.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No,
I think
yep.
I think it's been a very, very funny reality. A sad reality, but a funny reality where the team that won AWC didn't qualify for SI, because that was like that's a real because of the SI point situation that would have been real. But continue,
Yeah.
Mint.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, it would have been funny, but glad. I am glad for us
very
as
happy.
viewers that we're going to be watching some good Siege, and we're going to get the best teams there at the moment. So yeah, scared of them. Then there's G2 stomping. Okay, of course, we got G2 and stomping, and they're interesting to me. And why they're interesting is I really feel like, and I'm not in the team, but just like listening to their interviews and stuff that they said on Twitter, I kind of feel like they just kind of, in a way, had fun this stage with their map bans, the maps they played this stage. Like, I don't want to say they didn't try their hardest, but like some of their games, I don't want to say a little questionable, but like they're going border on Falcons, right? Which they have permaban for a very long time, and they've just narrowly lost it. And then they came out and said that their coach really wanted them to get some game day reps on, which is totally fine because the way that the format is, stage one or I'm sorry, before playoffs really doesn't matter. Like there's no way they're not going to get enough points looking at the rest of the teams. Like they're going to get the points to win, so they don't really need to show everything, and they can actually just work on some things. So the Falcons won. They took Gen.G. You noted that they beat Gen.G, or they lost to Gen.G on Chalet, but that is Gen.G's best map, Chalet, and they are not very good. If you look at their map pool, they are not very good at Chalet. So like why did they go there? Right? They get the playoffs. This is where it got interesting, where they got the playoffs, and where was it? Holy cow! They're playing G2, or they're playing Gen.G in the lower bracket to make for the event, and they pull Clubhouse out, which is another permaban for G2, and also a top 2 map for Gen.G, and decider was Chalet. Arguably, and I kept saying it over and over again, map 1, which was Clubhouse, whoever won that map, I kind of had a feeling was going to win that series, because I really felt like Gen.G was the better team on Chalet, and I was just, what is G2 thinking with Clubhouse? Are they going to be able to pull it out? And for that to come down to 7-7, and Doki hits the gap of his lifetime right there and just kills everybody in sight, and they win 8-7, and now it's a 2-0. But like looking back at G2 fans, I mean, that was a very scary and risky. It's almost like they were just having fun with their map pool. Hopefully they dial it back a little bit at Munich. If you're obviously a G2 fan and want to see stomping in the grand finals. They obviously have really, really good maps. It's just they kept electing to play some of their quote unquote weaker ones. So I mean, that's also going to be interesting, because like when you're a coach or an opposing coach, you're looking at what they were playing this stage, and like you're not really sure what their map pool is now, because they were kind of all over the place with it, exploring. So that's also going to be interesting, kind of like going into prep. And I know, like, I mean, those guys prep very, very well. That's definitely credit to Romalio and Cameraman with the prep and the strategy over there, because like I played those guys at SI. We went to one of their quote unquote perma bans and we got 7-0'd. So, scary team at events always. Anything you want to add with G2?
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of agree with the testing and map. Like I think the whole like shattering of reality for those map bans is when they pulled it out against Gen.G to make the major Clubhouse there. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? But I mean, Gen.G just shit pants, I guess, and just couldn't do anything. But then against BDS, they got slammed on Clubhouse. They obviously ended up winning in the next semifinals game. But I think after that, like you said, at the tail end of the season versus as well as like the regular stage games, I think it's really good to get a game day rep on a map that you're very uncomfortable with, because I think it's one thing to prepare a map in scrims and one thing to play it on game day. Like you could be preparing your permaban, and be 11-0ing every single team in scrims, and pull up to game day and just shit the bed, right? Because you haven't felt it. You haven't felt the maps flow on game days, like the way I like to explain it. There's a certain vibe to maps, you know, and you haven't felt it on game day, you won't feel it. So I think it's fine, but at the same time, I think the critics are too harsh. Like, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be terrifying internationally, just as they were before. I think they are very, very good. There's people that say like, oh, they're a hero play team, and now that the heroes aren't heroing anymore, they're losing. But it's like, dude, if you manage to hero play your way to a grand finals, like, who is what? That's fine. Like, okay, great. You have the best hero players in the world. You know,
Yeah.
as a hero play team, fuck it. If that's your identity, fuck it. You know, even if it were true. So yeah.
I said it though on a lot of broadcasts that when you have guys that just like pull this shit out, like the DZ matchup that happened in the NA League where it was like NJR got like a 3K, I think out of nowhere against like Shopify Rebellion, and then like I think Citizen did the same, and like the only reason why the game was still going and it wasn't won by Shopify Rebellion earlier, I actually think DZ, if memory serves correctly without pulling it up, I think that's what won the map 2 against Shopify Rebellion in the first place. But it's like you can't just continue to rely on one guy popping off out of nowhere time and time again, because as you get deeper into the event, that competition is going to get tighter and they're going to be able to exploit that. If NJR is able to find the weak spots against a team in like say the quarterfinals, and people are running up against DZ at like in the semis or the grand finals, they're going to be looking at his positioning a lot to try and shut that down, and maybe playing just a different style to not let that happen. But like hero plays are just not sustainable. We say this all the time. Yeah, it's possible. And yeah, certain teams just get like that plot armor where one guy just goes fucking nuts and that's it. But like you can't rest on that. I always get really concerned going into events whenever I see teams that rely an awful lot on just one player going supernova a couple rounds a map. It doesn't ever lead me with a great deal of confidence. And I don't know if you two now, just to this short jump off point before we go back to EML, has there been a team that has won a major that were very clearly the underdogs, but they were just carried by hero moments? Because my immediate thought is no. Usually the team that is just consistently great all across the board is the one that ends up winning.
I think there's a certain level of plot armor / clutch gene required to win. Like I remember like when we clutched a couple rounds at the major, Gunner was like, oh, that's part of the recipe. Like we need like clutches, you know, we need a couple clutches. That's good. Like the aura's on our side. So I think there's a big amount of aura that goes into it. And I also think for G2, it's just like it's too consistent for it to be a valid point of criticism for them, at least. Like it's a valid point of criticism if like you're losing a lot of games and the only rounds you're winning are a dude getting a 3K. But it's like every one of their players will get hero plays. Not only that, like I think Alamal makes great calls and I think their strats are great. So yeah, I think it's fine. I think having plot armor is fine. The only criticism I would have, like that could be valid actually, is were they in a honeymoon phase last stage and has that faded? And have they not made up for maybe like telekinesis honeymoon powers by, you know, implementing more fundamentals and that? So that's
Telekinesis honeymoon powers. I love it.
no, yeah, no, it's real though, because like some teams like they'll gel together without saying anything so well for like a stage, and then they won't like patch up like very niche like comms that need to be done between like player A and player B, and then B then C, and then their double swing will be disconnected in the next stage, even though that was perfect in the first stage because they were just telekinetic, like, you know. So yeah.
I think surprising that we're talking about hero play coming out of G2.
That's what my chat says.
Hero play? Because
Yeah.
for me, that's gonna be Falcons, which we'll get to in just a second. I think they're a hero team. G2, I feel like that's just kind of their system in a sense of like it truly is 5 entry fraggers, and they are completely spread around the map. All have different zones. That's how they just play Siege. It's like a CS:GO concept, completely different from like metas that people probably have learned in Siege in their time. And it's like they all just learn how to help each other or hit the gap or whatever. Like anybody and everybody can pop off. And like, so for me, it's not hero play in a sense where it's like, just because someone else is, I don't know.
For you, it's intentional. Like
For me,
it's like
thank you. Yeah.
Someone's bound to pop off because everyone's hitting a gap.
Exactly. Someone is always bound to pop off because that's how it's designed. There's always that push pull, like all the time, like literally all the time. Like
it's designed
right now, it's
so
Blaz.
that
right now it's Labaz James popping off, but like,
LeBlanc.
but they like Laura when Laura's like, you can't say, oh, he's having a bad state. Like literally at any moment he could slip through a crack, slip through a gap. Like that's the kind of player he is, and he will just get a 3K and 4K and win. Like I don't know, that is their system though. Whereas when we start talking about Falcons, for example, I feel like they still play the normal style people know. Like they'll still run like on Chalet a soul overtake, for example, right? And then like Effect says, do we want to push bar?
Why do you say it with a little bit of a French? Why do you say it with a tiny bit of a French accent? Like you didn't even put both feet in. You just put like half a foot into the French accent.
I'm not very good at it, but that was a great job by Fett.
Do you want to push?
But anyway, like they still play the normal Siege that I think most of us, at least I understand. Like I'm still kind of learning the secret, the Brazilian style, the G2. They still play like the normal. You can call it Soul Takeover, and like it literally is like that execute. If you would go steal that strat and put it into a T3 team, would not work. But that worked because Shaco just got a 3K there, right? Like or Solotov just ran in and got 4. Like that just wouldn't work for normal teams because when I watch the Falcons, especially their defensive strats, it is nothing special. Like it is. I'm not impressed by their strategy on defense. It's like very basic, but the players just pop off. Like Effect, like literally, if there's a clubhouse strat where it is a 4-man bunker and like Effect is Goyo. He puts his Goyos in sight and he's on the top floor running around like a maniac doing whatever he wants. And he gets a 3K because he's got the vector. Like that's just like Effect. Like if I gave that to another team, no one is doing that. We're not going to have some guy running around the map getting a 3K just because he felt like it. So to me, that's hero play or hero ball. And I do think Falcons kind of like, I think that's kind of why stage 1, they were like, because some of their players maybe weren't kind of having the best stages, perhaps. But then, of course, the Shaco charm dropped stage 2, and now this guy, I think him and Solitar are the only players to eclipse 200 kills in both stage 1 and stage 2, which is kind of crazy. He's been having a fantastic season. Like Effect with the Solus buff they're going to be even more deadly with him running around and just going outside the map and impacting out and whatever else he does. This guy he's not going to feel the need to run around with the vector anymore. Use this as well. Like, it's just every time people talk about this roster, like, oh, they need a roster change. It's like, who do you change?
Oh, they're so fucking good.
Like, there's not a single player that could be improved by like somebody else. Like, I just don't see it. And then you look at the staff, and it's like Julio. I love Julio. I think that guy's very good strategically. Was a Blitz fellow Blitz main himself. They got psychologists. Falcons have so many support staff. Like they have everything they could possibly want. Like it's just one of those things where like things work or they don't work. And then like, again, looking at their strats, like there's another one where it's a layer bunker. No team likes to layer bunker. Like no team will give up the entire map on layer and sit downstairs. But how do they win it? They make vert and then Shaco sits under the vert and he gets 2. Like, it's just like that to me, again, it's hero play when their guns are clicking and they have the most talented rosters. Like when they're all clicking, I think they're a contender at every single event. They won EML. And I mean, they're going to be kind of scary. We'll see what they can kind of do. I know people, put the second place curse and choke on them when it's not an EWC event, but we're now in Like Effect's meta. They're in Like Effect's meta. Now it's time.
They bombed out at EWC this time, so they might have lifted the curse. But yeah, I'm really glad you brought up that strat point about them because low key, them and FaZe are 2 teams where I look at their strats and I'm like, wow, how the fuck do they win?
Yeah.
like, dude, them and FaZe have the most like basic,
I agree with the FaZe
non-specialty. I think more recently FaZe has implemented a bit more like like unorthodox stuff, but like back in the day, I don't think I've seen FaZe do like a tube cage strat when they came out. Like I don't think I've ever seen them do it. I don't think I've seen FaZe with a win con, much less any of that.
Just shooting people.
Yeah, they just shoot people, and it works because their fundamentals are so fucking amazing, I guess. So
no, it's just Cyber is also the X factor over there.
Yeah, Cyber, wife and kids running around like he's like 14 years old. Yeah,
Cyber was not very good in the playoffs though.
It's all right. They'll be at the event.
Not to be negative.
And what happened at the last event?
Saving it for Munich. I don't know. Maybe some MVP performance. I don't know.
Okay, so
maybe it was the MVP. Of SI. Who knows?
He's got some kids to feed. Like he'll pop off.
He'll pop off, bro.
We are now just past 2 hours. Remember we said this would be a shorter episode? Mint, you have been carrying us in your backpack, and I have been very cozy in here. I've been enjoying it. Chat, have you been enjoying it? Oh, we're not live. That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
okay, well.
Chat really likes Mint.
No, we
My
said
my
this-
chat's actually 40-year-olds. It's all unks. Shout
it's all
out to the
golfers.
unks.
It's all
Yeah,
you talk
but-
about is golfers. Yeah.
We do. Yeah, we do.
No, it's great. You know, obviously when we did the first episode, I tried to caution the audience and say, like, when you're new to a show, it's tough for you to find your voice, both literally and figuratively. And you know, it took Fett a couple episodes until he was yapping at the same volume that I was, because it's unnatural, right? Like you're not used to it, you don't want to take it over, etc. This episode, you have done a terrific job. So can we get some claps in the chat? It's not just a thank you, producer David, for all of his work, but a thank you, Mint, for quite the recap. Gents, not that I want to end this, but we do have a couple topics that we will touch upon next week. Two that we were hoping to get to today, but we've not run out of time, but we wanted to talk a little bit about the Munich Major. I think doing that next week, maybe even we do a tier list together. I don't know if you've seen on the Rainbow Six Pro League subreddit, they've been doing tier lists for the teams that are going. I think doing a tier list would be great. There is another podcaster show that is actually not on this network, though some of the guys are on this network who happen to be on that show, called Plat Chat. They like to do tier lists. I think it's a great thing for us to do, and maybe we could shine a light on those teams that are competing and see where they end up in our lists. But the other topic that we were going to discuss was caster knowledge and negativity, which is something that Fett has had his chat talking about a fair bit. And I'm sure, Mint, you've dealt with it too when you've been co-streaming, about casters who are maybe a bit too negative and always point out what went wrong rather than praising what went right. So that's a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and one that I would like to get into, but those both will be contained for next week. So if you're watching and you're wondering what are we going to talk about in the show before the Super Show, we're going to talk about the Munich Major. There's probably some other community stuff that's going to pop up. We're likely going to revisit some of the Element 6 stuff. We'll also have more stuff to talk about regarding the Spoit Invitational. But before we close out the show, Min, did I cut you off? Did you still want to talk about EML? Was there anything else?
No, I'm just very thankful you're not bringing up SAL right now and rubbing it in my face that W7M managed to beat Liquid. So
Okay,
and,
just
I
a
was
brief.
very upset.
I know, so was I. But just a brief point here. That low snip series
Mhm.
was like
Yeah,
all but
barn
one
burner.
possible fucking round. And then so Jesse and I did four best of threes over the span of like 2 days. I'd need to get the actual numbers in front of us, but at one point in time
Oh,
we
it's
had
44
done something
rounds.
like, sorry.
It was 44 rounds total, yeah. Out of
Yeah.
45 possible.
And it took 4 hours because it was like there were a couple tech issues. It was a 4-hour best of three, and then we still had to do a best of three after that. At one point, we had done something like 94% of all possible rounds.
And you
in
got
the
to cast
span
the
of, like,
next
2
day
days.
too, right?
And then we did the next day. And because of the way that they'd done the schedule, it was 3 best of threes. Our contract stipulates that we don't do more than 6 maps in a single show. So because of that, you have to bring in a second duo. So they brought in Fluke and Demo to do to work on the Saturday. And Jesse and I were like, oh, great. Like Fluke and Demo are going to do 2. We're going to do 1. Super chill. That still gives us 3 of the 6 matches because Lynx and X were doing the grand final. And then the production is just like, no, we want you and Jesse to do 2 best of threes. And I was like, what? And then, yeah, we ended up doing 4 of the 6 best of threes. We loved it. Don't get me wrong. This is not a complaint in the slightest. And because, like we've talked about with players getting game day reps, Jesse and I are still a really new duo. We really haven't had a lot of opportunities to work together, right? Like we've been a duo now for a year. Like that's it. It's not very long. So it's like we're still finding our footing. Jesse moved to analyst, so he's still getting his sea legs when it comes to casting. And he's been fucking amazing. Jesse's been spectacular. I think we hit the ground running, but I think his improvements have been huge. I know he's soliciting feedback from people. If either of you have feedback for me or for him, like always give it to us. And now since we're here at the end of the video, if you and YouTube want to comment on the duo and things that you either feel we do well or things we can improve upon, please put that in as a comment. But I looked at it and I was like, we're getting the longest games humanly fucking possible. And we ended up working like, it was a crazy amount. It was great because we used it to really dial in our casting. I think our cast on the Friday of like Los Nip and then A's W7M. I can't remember what team, or Liquid W7M, I think it was. I think those are two of the best casts Jesse and I have ever done, period. And I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't have good games. So the SL games were great. It was quite an ending for us for this online portion, but you know, maybe we'll be in Munich. We don't know. Maybe we will be. Maybe we won't be. Maybe we will be. Maybe
I
we won't
enjoyed the
be.
casting.
Yeah,
I would like to see more.
Thank you.
I love it.
That's very nice of you.
It's improved a lot since that one where you and Lynx went together, I believe. That one.
Well,
Yeah.
we got a bit of we got bad feedback for that from the subreddit because they were like,
Really?
they were like Lynx and Interro is just not the duo, and I'm like, that's because we're not a duo. Like, yeah, we are not the duo. Yeah, no fucking duh. We don't usually work together. Like, I had to switch some dates out with X because my buddy got married, so it was like I couldn't work some days. So X worked a couple days with Jesse, and I worked a couple days with Lynx. Lynx and I are great friends, and we got good chemistry. But like, we are not a duo. Number one, we're both play-by-play. So that obviously makes it challenging to start with. Lynx's game knowledge, like Lynx's ball knowledge is incredible for a caster. But like Lynx is also still like a newish caster. And Lynx has had like 9 different duos that, you know, Lynx has worked with over the last couple years. Like Lynx has never had a consistent duo to grow with. And despite that, like I think Lynx's quality of product is fantastic. But then, yeah, I saw that comment and I was just kind of like, yeah, no, we are not a duo. So I don't know what you were expecting here.
Yeah.
Like, we tried our best given the circumstances, but it had been over a year. Well, we'd casted together, I think, one time in the last calendar year. And that was when we did the tri-cast of the Montreal Major for the finals. Like, that was it. And it's like, yeah, no duh, we're not banging on all cylinders here because it's not a usual thing. So anyway, we'll talk about casting in the next episode. I don't really want to take this too much away from it because we've exhausted our topic and time for today. Before we say adieu, do you have it? Because that's French. Because Mint, you tried to do a French accent earlier, but I'll just throw a little bit in. Anything to add? Any calls to action?
I wanna end off on a clickbait, on a cliffhanger.
Oh, great.
Well, I don't know what
great.
promotional
Fett
stuff.
end.
What promotional stuff you need to do before I do that? Don't you need to like tell people to like check us out on whatever Bing Bang Boom.
I will. Let me do that. I'll give you the final word. Mint,
Yeah.
you just say goodbye right now really quickly.
Goodbye.
There you go. Very quick. That was perfect. All right. Just wanted to say to all of you who've been watching, we talked about this actually with production before we went live. The reception of this show has been much more than we expected. We appreciate all of your viewership. The comments have been great. Again, we read all of them. We've been taking feedback into account. Some of the things you say have been floated as either current ideas or future ideas. And we actually have a couple ideas that we discussed before today's show about upcoming shows, because once we go into the off season, there's not going to be as much Siege to actively talk about. So perfect time for you to like, subscribe, really helps us out. Mint's got a family to feed. He needs new golf clubs. So you need to help him fund that. Fett just moved into a penthouse. He needs more money as well. So everybody here, I need to buy more bandanas. So like and subscribe. We do have a couple sponsors coming, which is cool. Can't announce anything just yet, but they are in the works. As of right now, we have 3. So it'll be talked about at a later date, who they are, what that means for you, etc. But beyond that, like, subscribe, leave a comment about the video. Thank you so much. As always, thank you to producer David. Thank you to Fett. Thank you to Mint. Thank you to Last Free Nation for even making this possible. And Fett, I'll give you the last word.
I'm gonna hit a little bit of clickbait here, but not really, because in my opinion, and why will the Munich Major be the most competitive Siege event we have ever witnessed in history? Find out on the next episode of 6 on 6, aka 6 on 7, aka 6-7. See ya.